Hi, everybody. Welcome to First Reads, our online class that simulates some of the conditions of the first day of rehearsal. Today, according to our syllabus, our topic is King John in a modern verse translation by Brighde Mullins. My name is Dr. Louis Douthit. My pronouns are she, her, hers. Oh my goodness, and I've got two things going on here. Uh-oh, stop. Stop, sorry. Wow, that was exciting. In stereo. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm safely ensconced in Ashland, Oregon. Think of me as the professor, those of you on the live stream as the students, and the 16 artists who have joined us via Zoom as our guests to our class today. They will demonstrate what a first read through is like. I know it's Friday because I washed my hair, and fearing that I am working on gaining the COVID-15, I've crammed myself into a suit to convince myself that I'd still have this under control. The pants are tight around the diaphragm, I must admit. So if I see more dim than usual, perhaps I'm not getting enough oxygen to my brain. Those of you who have been listening these past few weeks will know that the actors, boy, I'm really having a hard time with transition. Those of you who have been listening for the past few weeks, you know that the actors who have agreed to participate have come from different circumstances. Some of them were part of the 5-week festival last summer in New York. Some have been involved in readings and workshops in LA and Ashland and elsewhere. And all of them have been through the Play On experience. And today we have a slightly different configuration. I had arrived home after 2 months of being on the road the day before the opening weekend at the Oregon Shakespeare Festival in early March. COVID was already in the air. And because I am of a certain age, hey, I just got a flyer about Medicare program, and have a compromised immune system, I opted not to see any shows that weekend. They were scheduled to run all year, so I figured I could catch them later. Well, I didn't know when that later is going to be because the shows opened and closed the same weekend. And I was particularly distraught not to catch Bring Down the House, which is the adaptation of the 3 Henry VI plays and Richard III that Rosa, Joshi, and Kate Wisniewski created with their company Upstart Crow Collective based in Seattle. So when we were devising first reads and I declared that I wanted to read King John, I thought it would be great to gather some of the cast from that production and complement them with some other OSF Play-On tested actors. We are inspired by Upstart Crow's mission, which produces classical plays with diverse female and non-binary, with a non-binary collection of artists, reimagining these works for a contemporary audience. So today is all OSF and a diverse all-female group of readers to boot. I'd like to talk a little bit about adaptations and translations. It's been my observation, after watching people flip out about the idea of this project to translate Shakespeare's plays, that the word translation is the flipper. People can't quite grasp what that could possibly mean. And I'm not sure that it is intellectually graspable. And just like I don't think Shakespeare's plays are entirely intellectually graspable either. It's been nearly impossible to explain what I mean by translation. The only way to understand it is to hear one. They were designed to be performable companion pieces, and if you've heard some of these already, perhaps you will attest to their performability. I'd like to begin with a premise. All Shakespeare plays in performance are adaptations. Any change to the text, whether it's cutting language or placing it in a different context than when it was originally produced, is an adaptation. I'm not advocating for a facsimile production, by the way, which is one that replicates the conditions of the original production. I'm just saying that in the 400 years since these plays were first produced, they have been adapted to fit the time in which the play is being produced. I don't believe that I have ever seen a production of an entire Shakespeare play without cuts. I understand before 1980, OSF made few, if any, cuts to the scripts, and I think there weren't intermissions either. That was some tough love, folks. And perhaps the purest facsimile production in modern history. All plays are made up of components. Story is a component, the sequence of events is a component, language is a component, characters are components, kind of genre is a component, etc. Everyone manipulates some of these for their production. Recently, the Sunday Puzzle on NPR was a word ladder game with an Easter theme. The idea was to convert the word chick to hatch, changing one letter at a time, making a new word each step of the way. So I'm going to use this puzzle as a kind of analogy for Shakespeare productions. Let's say that we have the Shakespeare text in production performance on one hand. I'm going to use The Taming of the Shrew for this exercise. As far as I know, it was first printed on the first folio in 1623, so it's 1 degree of separation from Shakespeare to Hemmings and Condell, and that is about as close to authorial as we can be right now. And I'm going to assume the conditions of that first performance, that it was during the day, all men, no intermissions, not so much theatricality, contemporary costumes, etc. So that's one end. Moving along the lines is something like OSF producing the play prior to 1980 on the Elizabethan stage, including the induction. How many of you knew there was an induction? No cuts, no intermissions, set in Renaissance England, outdoors, but not during the day, and not all men. Next on the line is something like Libby Apple's King Lear on the Boehmer stage. Change of venue, diverse cast, a modern aesthetic, and a carefully edited text. Many OSF productions since 1980 have followed that prescription. Cut to bring down the house. Rosa, Joshi, and Kate Wisniewski's fine adaptation of those 3 plays and three Henry VI's and Richard III. In the Thomas, all female, non-binary cast, a kind of timeless aesthetic, much adjustments in the text. Which brings us closer to the absolute end of this line. 10 Things I Hate About You, a contemporary film based on the story of Taming the Shrew. Different medium entirely, contemporary language, different characters, different story, different setting. Despite all these changes, these adaptations, until we get to the movie version, Shakespeare's language remains mostly intact, aside from cuts and occasional word choice hither and yon for clarity. And that has to do specifically with the time and place chosen for the production. For the translation exercise, we asked the playwrights and dramaturgs to focus on the language only. It's the only thing that we haven't seemed to mess with, at least in the modern era. The charge that the playwrights and their dramaturgs were given was that they couldn't fix the play, update the setting, or change the characters. I think language is the delivery system in Shakespeare, and so it is like the engine. Their job was to look under the hood by pulling out the language. So we devised this project as an experiment, with all other variables the same and looking at the language only. What might these pairs of playwrights and dramaturgs discover about how the play works that perhaps hasn't been footnoted? Tall order, and a daunting one at that. Perhaps Bridget will talk about her reticence to take on this project for just those reasons. Like the other translations that I've chosen for this class, this KJ has not been produced yet. What we are reading today is maybe the 3rd draft. It's not set in stone. I don't think any play and performance is set in stone. I realize that plays get produced, which marks a certain moment in time only. But when we produce plays, we are always wrestling with different kinds of time. The only equation I think is important is one that accounts for such fluidity. With this text and these artists in this space for this audience, this is what we came up with this time. So today is a this time. What I like about this Zoom situation is it's like an audiobook with some visuals. And it weirdly feels like we've gathered around a dining room table to read Bridget's 3rd draft. The only thing that's missing is the snack table. Before I introduce our guests, I'd like to bring in Taylor Bailey and Kelsey Didion, who are curating the YouTube and Zoom experiences for us. Taylor and Kelsey?
Hi.
Hello.
Thanks, Louie. Kelsey and I will be running things behind the scenes today. For all you live streamers, we hope you'll participate in the live chat function on YouTube.
We will be keeping an eye on the chat, and we'll be bringing your questions and comments into the discussion portions of today. So let us know what's coming up for you and what questions you may have, and we'll bring them into the live discussions with our artists.
Thanks to the generosity of the HITS Foundation, we are proud to provide an honorarium to everyone involved in First Reads. If you would like to contribute to the well-being and payment of artists in these unprecedented times, we have a couple of suggestions for you.
The Dramatists Guild Foundation provides emergency financial assistance to individual playwrights, composers, lyricists, and book writers in dire need of funds due to severe hardship or unexpected illness. Their requests for grants have spiked due to COVID-19, and they depend heavily on contributions from individuals like you so they may continue to provide immediate relief to writers.
And the Actors Fund. Since March 18th of 2020, the Actors Fund has distributed emergency financial assistance to more than 2,800 people in our industry. This money is helping people cover basic living expenses such as food, essential medications, utilities, and more. To make donations, we are putting the links to these organizations in the description on YouTube, and they can also be found on our website at playonshakespeare.org/firstreads. Thanks, everyone. Back to you, Louie.
Thanks, guys. So here's how it'll go today. I'll introduce Rosa, who is playing the role of the director. She'll say a few words as if she were leading a rehearsal on the first day. She will pass the baton to Brighde Mullins, who will say a few words about the process of translating, who will pass the baton to dramaturg Barr, who will add some more context. And then we will then have the cast introduce themselves. But before we jump into reading, I'd like to give the cast a moment to ask Brighde and or Rosa questions about the text and about the conventions we want to use today for this read through. 400 years ago, we went to hear a play. Today, we often say that we're going to see a play. Reading the play aloud is the first step towards production. So let's hear how this first step goes. Rosa, the rehearsal is yours.
Hello. First, I want to thank Louie for putting this together, and Taylor and Kelsey, and also thank Brighde and Drew for inviting me into this part of the process. I haven't been with this translation from the beginning, so I'm really honored to be invited in at this point. And also on behalf of Upstart Crow, this is super meaningful for us to be partnering with Play On. Louie asked me to just talk, first day of rehearsal, and just explain a little bit about what I love about Shakespeare. I'm a third of Upstart Crow Collective. The other two actors, co-founders are Kate Wisniewski and Betsy Schwartz, and they're both in this reading. Working in Shakespeare is my happy place. I really believe in making the plays resonate for a contemporary audience. I'm always asking, why are we doing this play today? I kind of love the complete challenge that Shakespeare is mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. And I'm also a great believer in the power of the spoken word. A great director that I assisted way back in the day talked about how words are like daggers, they're like weapons, and how the things you say change circumstances irrevocably. And that has always stayed with me. I also love the plays are so much larger than me, and that gives me permission to not worry about capturing everything in the play, because that's impossible. So as Louie was saying, all we can do is make the play that's for the moment that we're living in, make that production. And if we capture even a part of the deep brilliance that's in the writing and make it resonate for a contemporary audience, then that I think is pretty amazing. So I love Shakespeare. I particularly love the histories, or as Kate Wisniewski has taught me to call them, the political war plays. And it's also where I've been living lately. So it's kind of great because King John was my first political war play. So it holds a special place for me. And it was also the first play that we did as Upstart Crow Collective. And it was 15 years ago, and back in the day, Kate was the Dauphin and Betsy was Arthur. So they've grown up and graduated into different roles. We had just met as Upstart when we first met, and we discovered that we loved this. We had this shared love of politics. And I didn't know King John at the time. And I read it, and it was the time shortly after the second term of George Bush Jr., after the hanging Chad election of 2000 was still in people's minds. So the question of who is actually the rightful leader of our country was super potent at that time. And the cynical landscape of the play also felt very current. The idea, especially of preemptive wars, of backroom dealings, of political expediency, propelling policies that affect so many people. They all felt like things that were going on in the world around them. And so I went back and I looked at my notes from the time, like, what did I say about this play back then? And I came across this note that I said, the heart of the play is the relationship between morality and leadership. What constitutes moral leadership? What happens to a nation state in the absence of strong moral leadership? Who pays in the play? And I wrote the answer, it's all the people who died in the wars. And those of you who know me, and many of you were in the cast of Bring Down the House, know that I said very similar things to the on the first day of Bring Down the House. And Kate and Betsy know that I pretty much say that all the time. And it reminds me that I'm pretty much just directing the same play all the time. I have one thing to say and I keep saying it. And I clearly have an obsession. But I do think I keep coming back to the histories because they really examine leadership. And I think in a democracy, we need to constantly question the nature of leadership. What are we willing to accept in our leaders for our national security, for our quote unquote freedoms? What civil liberties are we willing to concede? What atrocities are we willing to turn a blind eye to? Interestingly about King John, and maybe some of you shared this view or have heard this also, is that I've literally had people say, what a terrible play King John is. Like that, oh, that play is just awful. And it always surprises me. I actually think it's thrilling. It's the first time I used the term political thriller describing a history play, and not the last. Also, those of you in Bring Down the House heard me say that. I think we've established I'm pretty much a one-trick pony. But it really is, for me, a medieval West Wing, a medieval House of Cards. The characters in the plays are power brokers, or they live among the power brokers, and their decisions shape the future of nations, of people. And it's not often that women and non-binary folk get to inhabit those roles and own that power. It's a world of Darwinian struggle for power and self-preservation in a political landscape where allegiances can shift at the drop of the hat. The ground can shift under you at any moment, and it's all about how you strategize. And so it's thrilling to me that these characters have to live in a world where you have to think 2 steps ahead all the time, or you're gonna be outmaneuvered, you're gonna lose your kingdom, you're gonna lose your title, you may lose your life. So interestingly, I looked at this other note that I wrote that was a directive, because sometimes I write things to myself to like remind myself of things, I'm directing myself. And I wrote, don't forget that everyone is related to each other. The political is personal and the personal is political. We will care about the political strategizing if we care about the characters. So that, I think, is also something that I'm interested in hearing, and that I'm always interested in a history play. And Kate and I were having a conversation about it, and she pointed out to me something that I think is really poignant in this play. It's a play in which mothers and sons are central, and that often we see fathers and sons or fathers and daughters in Shakespeare, and there is Coriolanus, of course, with Volumnia, but mothers and sons are more rare. So, and that's something that really popped out to me in Bridget's translation also, and this connection that's really vivid for me. So I'm really excited to hear that today. And then I'm almost done. I'm just gonna talk about the fact of it being all female, non-binary, that originally going to the histories was also because there was something about taking a showcase, a play that was a showcase for a whole lot of men to play kings and leaders and soldiers and power brokers. And it was and is intentional that we do these plays as Upstart Crow with women and non-binary folk, because it gives me great joy to take that very male-centric playground and turn it over to women and non-binary folk, to let them take up space and play kings and queens and leaders and soldiers and power brokers, because I think it's about damn time. So I'm really excited to hear this, and I am gonna shut up now and pass it back to, my instructions say here, I'm gonna pass it on to our wonderful and amazing playwright, Brighde Mullins.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Rosa. I'm so excited to hear your actors read, to hear this company read, and to be back together with Louis and Drew. And I will just say, because Louis mentioned that I did have some reluctance and resistance to this project. I was first told about it by Dave Hitz. We were at Deep Springs College. I believe we were standing above a field of squash that we were supposed to be picking, but instead we were arguing about whether or not we should be translating Shakespeare into what? I asked him. Contemporary English, he said. No, I said. I am a word drunk. I studied with Harold Bloom, and I'm really pretentious. So I love the language. It's all about the language. And of course, it is all about the language. That's what I learned after working on this play for several years. And I should also mention, since this is an educational opportunity, and a lot of my students are watching, I hope, listening, that I did this assignment wrong when Louis first gave the assignment. I did an adaptation. I didn't understand the way that the language was to be translated. So I worked on a first draft of it, and it had Kardashians in it, and it was kind of a mess. And Louis said, okay, just go back. So I went back. I was working with Katie Peterson, who's a wonderful poet. And then we also brought in Drew Barr. You'll meet Drew in a moment. Drew has directed a couple of different readings of the play. And what I fell in love with this play are the characters, especially the bastard. Keep your eye out for the bastard. He's an amazing character. Constance. There's so many amazing characters in this play. And as Rosa just said, so many people have said to me, you know, this is not his best play, not Shakespeare's finest hour. This is an astonishing play. And I came away from the play loving it so much. And also, Rosa mentioned that there's so much power struggle in the play. There is, and it's also family power struggle. It's so much about family, and that's astonishing. There's a lot of pageantry in the play, but there's also a lot of intimacy. There are these incredibly intimate scenes. There's a scene between Arthur, the little prince, and the guy who's supposed to kill him, and this incredibly tender scene that happens. So because I'm always of several minds about everything, it took me a long time to really immerse myself in this project. But when I did, I love the play. The characters are amazing. I love that we're doing this with an all-female and non-binary cast, because I think the language has so much dimension to it. One reason Louis suggested this play to me is it's written in blank verse. It's completely written in blank verse. And so the iambic, that gallop and that heartbeat sounds throughout the play, and you listen in a certain way, and it can lull you, but it can also wake you up to the inner landscapes of the characters. And so the other permission slip that I got in working on this play was I remembered something that T.S. Eliot had once written. He wrote, "The most that we can hope for is to be wrong about Shakespeare in a new way." And I thought, I'm going to run with that. I might be wrong about Shakespeare, but it will be in a new way. Thank goodness I had this incredible director and dramaturg alongside me and diving back into the play. I spent many hours with Drew with an OED and a lexicon and all kinds of books and reading out loud. And I had first worked with Drew Barr on a production of A Midsummer Night's Dream. And so I was really excited to bring him into this project. And you will see that he is a Shakespeare scholar, not to set you up too much, Drew, but please welcome Drew Barr. So I'm going to pass the baton to Drew. Drew?
Hi, wow, that way to drop that. I am many things. A Shakespeare scholar, I am not. And in some ways I will, and it's funny actually, I can't, first, hello to everyone. I'm so excited to be part of this, and I'm so excited to have been brought into this project with Bridget, because far from a Shakespeare scholar, I guess I was a bookish and rather research-oriented actor who then found his way to directing. And in the role of dramaturg, I often feel, or mostly feel, like a bit of an imposter. And it was especially in relation to a play like King John, it's a pretty daunting role to take on. Bridget and Rosa have said so many things that kind of give dramaturgical context for the play that I'm not gonna say much right now, except to say that what has been most exciting for me in this process was joining what seems to be very perhaps small but fiercely enthusiastic club of people who have grown to love the play King John. I was, like many people, found the play originally really off-putting. And I think it's particularly difficult for American audiences, or just for people for whom the history of King John is that much more remote than the other histories that Shakespeare has written. On top of that, as Bridget talked about, it's a very formal, formally structured language play. There's a lot of pageantry, and when you first start reading it, it can feel like a dense wood with a lot of complicated syntax. Part of the fun of working on this play and hearing the play through Bridget's perhaps initially wrong voice, as she confessed, but the fact is what we discovered in kind of cracking open the text of King John through Bridget's attempt to adapt it was just how vibrant and raucous and funny, spiky, thrilling the play is, as Rosa was talking about. I guess any play that is about the vacuum that happens when you have a bad leader always feels somewhat timely. It certainly seemed to have felt timely when Rosa first took it on 15 years ago. And as Bridget and I were working on the play for the past few years, its timeliness was never far from our minds. And because the play's questions of legitimacy, both in terms of personal identity and political rule, certainly seem urgent right now. The last thing I'll just say, like before handing it over to the actors, is the fact that it's so fascinating that King John was a hugely popular play in the 19th century. It was perhaps Shakespeare's most frequently staged play on the British stage, certainly. And I think that's partly because, or probably largely because, episodically, scene for scene, there are these fantastically thrilling, funny, great, conflicty scenes that are happening between these family members, with just really rich, deep characters. And it feels like the play is filled with people that offer so much possibility for actors. And certainly Victorian ham actors took that as far as they could take it. So I'm very excited to be able to hear this play with a group, with this group of actors from Upstart Crow, again, particularly because the play has such powerful roles for women up through the first half of the play. So many characters, so many women in this play are such fierce forces, and then fascinatingly, in the second half of the play, they all disappear. And Bridget and I have always talked about how that seems to be such a great way to imagine doing this play in particular with a female and non-binary cast to try to free those female voices and energy into the second half of the play as well. So I'm really excited to just hear this play and talk about it more. And I thank everybody here for allowing me to be part of it. So Louis, I think I send it off to you now.
Yeah, sure.
And I will see everybody later.
Thanks, Drew. Thanks, Bridget, Rosa, and Drew. Those were great opening remarks. Really appreciate it. Definitely feels like that show introductory thing, right? So I'd love to ask that the readers introduce themselves and stay on screen so we can see the cast before we dive into a reading. Okay, you want to start with Annie, please?
Hi, I'm Annie Paul, she, her, hers, and I will be reading Arthur and Prince Henry. Oh, I'm also in Ashland, Oregon. There you go. Forgot that
Betsy, you're muted.
Here we go. Hi, I'm Betsy Schwartz, she, her, hers. I'm currently in Ashland, Oregon, and I will be reading Robert and Louis the Dauphin.
Hi, I'm Brenda Joyner, she, her, hers. I am in Seattle, Washington, and I will be reading Blanche and Hubert.
Hi, I'm Brooke Parks, she, her, hers. I'm located in Ashland, Oregon, and I'm reading Lady Falconbridge, Salisbury, and Citizen One.
Hi, I'm Caro Zeller, she, her, hers. I am currently in Ashland, Oregon, and I am playing the bastard. No pressure.
Hi, I'm Catherine Castellanos, she, her, hers, safely harbored in Ashland, Oregon. And today I'll be reading Elinor and the Messenger.
Hi, I'm Gina Daniels, she, her, hers. I'm in Jackson Heights, Queens, New York, and I'm reading King Phillip and Lord Bigot.
Hi, I'm Kate Wisniewski, she, her, hers. I'm in Seattle, and I'll be reading King John.
Hi, I'm Lisa Tejero. I'm also safely harbored in Ashland, she, her, hers, and I'll be reading Pembroke, Essex, in Austria.
Hi, I'm Miriam Laube. I'm also in Ashland, Oregon, she, her, hers, and I will be reading the eminent Cardinal Pandolf, the French Herald, and a gentleman named Gurney.
Hi, I'm Nancy Rodriguez. I'm reading Constance and Peter, she, her, hers, and I am currently in Blue Mounds, Wisconsin.
Hi, I'm Vilma Silva, she, her, hers. I'm in Ashland, Oregon. I am reading Chatillon, First Executioner, and Meloon.
Hi, I'm Caroline Schaefer, and I'll be reading the stage directions as well as an English Herald, and I will also be the stringer, which means that I will be jumping in and taking over for folks if they begin to have connection issues with Zoom. So you may see me pop in as any of the characters today.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you all. What a great group. Can't wait to hear this go forward. Rosa, wanted to bring you in and just have a moment. If there's questions about pronunciation, questions about accents, the answer is no to that. Anything else that anybody want to ask at the last sec, before we jump in?
Yeah, does anyone have any questions, especially pronunciation questions? Maybe Drew or somebody else will be able to help me with this because I'm not necessarily going to know the answer, but ask away. Who has?
Are we using English pronunciations for like dolphin, chatillon? They scan.
Chatillon if it was French.
You'd say chatillon, but it doesn't scan.
It doesn't scan.
No.
We kind of go for anglicized.
Yeah, let's go for anglicized. Thank you. I like that decisiveness.
Joffrey or Jeffrey?
Jeffrey.
Are we going to go with Louis or Louis? I don't know if his name is ever pronounced.
Louis. If we're going anglicized, let's just stick to it.
Okay.
The De Leon name thing, the word that starts with a C, you know what I'm talking about?
Coeur de Lion.
Coeur de Lion. Thank you.
I think we would say Coeur de Lion as opposed to Coeur de Lion. I think because that's how the English would say it. He was known as Coeur de Lion. But you don't have to try to be very French about it, right?
So when I refer to the Lion King, I'm going to say the Lion King. Is that right?
Good choice. Good choice. Any other questions about pronunciation or things? And
I think Gina answered my question in her introduction, but is it Bigot, or is there another
Bigot?
pronunciation?
I
Bigot?
think
Okay.
that makes sense. Yeah.
Bigot,
Okay.
yeah.
Thanks.
And it's Millen, right? Millen.
Isn't it not Melon? It's not Melon. It's Millen.
Millen. No, that's a different character. It's Millen. Like when Pandolf says he's the
instead
Duke
of
of
Milan.
Millen. Yeah.
Oh, I was getting
Yeah.
Millen and Melon.
Oh.
Is it melon, not melon?
I think we should just stick to it. If we're doing anglicized, let's just stick to anglicized for now.
Okay.
For now, like we're going to do it again, but who knows? Yes, Millen. Anything else? And of course, like as we go along, you can ask, right? Because this is a first read, right? So I just want to also say, I know that we're on YouTube, and I know that we're on like there. It's very strange because as I was talking, I was like, is anybody out there? But I just want to just remind us that if this is the condition of a first read, that it is the condition of discovery also. And it is the condition of rehearsal for us, so that it's the condition of exploration and play and have fun with it also. And that's it. I'm done. I'm gonna go away, bye-bye, but I'm still here.
Everybody, great. Okay, Caroline, when you're ready, let's dive in. We will take a break at the end of the second act. We'll see you all then. Have fun.
Alrighty. Here we go. King John, written by William Shakespeare, in a modern verse translation. Translation by Brighde Mullins, with dramaturgy by Katie A. Peterson and Drew Barr. First reads draft. Act 1, Scene 1, King John's Palace. Enter King John, Queen Elinor, Pembroke, Essex, and Salisbury, with Chatillon, Ambassador of France.
Now, say, Chatillon, what would France with us?
I greet you, and I speak as King of France in my behavior to the majesty, the stolen majesty of England here.
Strange beginning, stolen majesty.
Silence, good mother. Let him speak.
Phillip of France, in right and true behalf of your late older brother Geoffrey's son, Arthur Plantagenet, lays most lawful claim to this fair island and its colonies, to Ireland, Poitiers, Anjou, Touraine, Maine, and orders you to lay aside your claim, which holds unlawfully the deeds to these, and put the same into young Arthur's hands, your nephew and right royal sovereign.
What happens if we disagree with this?
The proud control of fierce and bloody war to enforce these rights so forcefully withheld.
We'll give you war for war and blood for blood, controlment for control. Tell that to France.
Then take my king's defiance from my mouth, the farthest limit of my embassy.
Bring my defiance back and go in peace. Be quick as lightning in the eyes of France. Before you can report, I will be there. The thunder of my cannon shall be heard. Get out. You'll be the trumpet of our wrath and sullen prophet of your own decay. Escort him safely to the border, please. Pembroke, look to it. Farewell, Chatillon.
What now, my son? Have I not always said how that ambitious Constance would not stop till she had fired up France and all the world upon the so-called birthright of her son? This might have been prevented and resolved with very easy arguments of love, which now the people of two kingdoms must arbitrate with fearful bloody conflict.
Our strong possession and our right for us.
Your strong possession much more than your right, or else it will go wrong for you and me. So much my conscience whispers in your ear, which none but heaven and you and I shall hear.
Enter a sheriff who whispers into Essex's ear.
My liege, here's the strangest controversy I have ever heard, come from the country to be judged by you. Shall I bring them in?
Let them approach. Those fat cat priests and monks will bear the cost of our just war with France.
Enter Robert and the bastard.
What men are you?
Your faithful subject. I'm a gentleman born in Northamptonshire, the oldest son, so I've been told, to Robert Falconbridge, a soldier by the honor-giving hand of Coeur de Lion, knighted in the field.
And who are you?
The son and heir to that same Falconbridge.
You are the older, but you are the heir? You had not the same mother then, it seems.
Most certain the same mother, mighty king, that is well known. And as I think, one father, but for the certain knowledge of that truth, you need to talk to God or else my mom. I have my doubts, as all men's children may.
You watch your tongue, rude man. You shame your mother and wound her honor with your impudence.
I, madam? No, I have no impudence. It is my brother's claim. And he cheats me out of at least £500 a year. Heaven guard my mother's honor and my land.
A good blunt fellow. Why, being younger born, does he lay claim to your inheritance?
Once he has slandered me with bastardry, he'll get my land with ease. I bet that's why. Now, whether it's true I'm as true conceived or not, that I still may lay upon my mother's head, but that I am as well conceived, my liege. God bless the bones that took the pains from me. Compare our faces, and then judge yourself. If old Sir Robert did conceive us both, and were our father, and this son like him, oh, old Sir Robert, on my knee, it's true, I thank God I look not a thing like you.
Why, what a joker heaven sent us here.
He has the look of Coeur de Lion's face. The accent of his tongue is like him too. Do you not read some features of my son in the great composition of this man?
My eyes have studied every inch of him and find him perfect, Richard. Young man, speak. What moves you to come claim your brother's land?
He is a chinless wonder like his dad. With that half face, he would have all my land. His half face earns £500 a year.
My gracious liege, when he was still alive, your brother did employ my father much.
Well, sir, this is not you. By this you cannot get my land. Your tale must be how he employed our mother.
And once dispatched him as ambassador to Germany, there with the emperor, to treat of high affairs touching that time. The king took full advantage of his absence, and in the meantime stole my father's place, where how he did prevail, I'm shamed to speak. But truth is truth. Large lengths of seas and shores lay between my father and my mother when this same lusty gentleman was got. Upon my father's deathbed, he bequeathed his lands to me and took it on his death that this my mother's son was none of his, for if he were, he came into the world full 14 weeks before he was expected. So, let me have what's mine by right, good king, my father's land, as was my father's will.
Robert, your brother is legitimate. Your parents were already legally wed, and if she did play false, the fault was hers. Which fault lies on the hazards of all husbands that marry wives? Tell me, what if my brother, who, as you say, took pains to have this son, had from your father claimed this son as his? By law, good friend, your father might have kept this calf, bred from his cow from all the world. The law says, even if he were my brother's, my brother might not claim him, nor your father, though unrelated, refuse him. In brief, my mother's son did get your father's heir. Your father's heir will get your father's land.
Then shall my father's will be of no force to dispossess this child, which is not his?
Of no more force to dispossess me, sir, than was his will to get me, as I think.
But would you rather be a Faulconbridge and like your brother to enjoy some land, or the reputed son of Coeur de Lion, lord of your presence and no land beside.
Madam, let's say my brother had my shape and I was struck like him with dad's physique. Say both my legs were spindly pogo sticks, my arms such eel skin stuffed, my face so thin that in my ear I dare not stick a twig, lest I look like a scarecrow in the field. If it took that to inherit all his land, may lightning strike me dead upon this place. I'd give all that land to have my face. I'd not be a pencil dick in any case.
I like you well. Will you forsake your fortune, give up your land to him, and follow me? I am a soldier and now bound for France.
Brother, you take my land, I'll take my chance. Your face receives 500 pounds a year. It's worth more like 5 farthings, though, I fear. Madam, I'll follow you unto my death.
Oh no, I'm in no hurry. You go first.
I'm just a country bumpkin.
What's your name?
Phillip, my king, so is my name begun. Phillip, good old Sir Robert's wife's first son.
Let's name you after him you look most like. Kneel down as Phillip, but rise up more great. Arise, Sir Richard and Plantagenet.
Philip kneels. King John dubs him a knight, tapping him on the shoulder with his sword.
Brother, by our mother, give me your hand. Your father gave me honor, yours gave me land. Now blessed be the hour by night or day. When I was got, Sir Robert was away.
The very spirit of Plantagenet. I am your grandam, Richard. Call me so.
Grandma, if it's true or not, who cares? What's that they say? A little from the right, sneak in the window. If you can't lift the latch, who dares not woo by day must screw by night. And have is have, whoever men do catch. Near or far off, well shot is well received. I, no matter how conceived.
Go, Faulconbridge. Now you've got your desire. A landless knight makes you a landed squire. Come, mother, and come, Richard. We must speed for France, for it is more than need.
Brother, adieu. Good fortune and good luck, for you're the product of an honest buck. I think that I have grown a full foot taller. I gained in honor what I lost in land. Now I can make any girl a lady. Good day, Sir Richard. How's it hanging, pal? And if his name be George, I'll call him Hal. For nouveau rich don't bother learning names. It's too demeaning and it's too much work for my new status. Now, where'er I dine, I'll pick my teeth and loudly slurp my soup. And when my nightly stomach is sufficed, I'll proudly burp while I interrogate some foreign dignitary. My dear sir, thus leaning on my elbow, I'll begin. I wonder what you've heard them say of me. That is the question now, since I'm in charge. And then his answer, all pro forma, goes, you know, my dear sir, I'm at your command, at your employment, at your service. So, no, sir, I counter, I, sweet sir, at yours. And so we'll talk in circles through the night and cut each other off being polite, bragging about the mountains we have seen, our foreign travels on some swanky cruise. We'll draw towards sunrise in conclusion, so. But look, man, this is how the other half lives and fits the mounting spirit like myself. For he is but a bastard to the time that does not smack of such civility. And so I am, whether I smack or not. And not just in my clothing and my bling exterior form, outward accoutrement, but from an inward motion I'll deliver sweet, sweet, sweet poison for the age's tooth. For though I will not practice to deceive, yet to avoid deceit I mean to learn, and that shall pave the way for my new self.
Enter Lady Faulconbridge and James Gurney.
But who comes in such haste in riding clothes? What woman post is this? Has she no husband that will prepare her entrance and her way? Dear God, it is my mother. How now, Mom? What brings you out in public dressed like that?
Where is that wretch, your brother? Where is he maligns my honor up and down the street?
My brother Robert? He who looks like Dad? Nimrod the giant, your husband Robert's son. It is Sir Robert's son you're looking for.
Sir Robert's son. Yes, you irreverent boy, Sir Robert's son. Why do you scorn Sir Robert? He is Sir Robert's son, and so are you.
James Gurney, could you give us leave a while?
Good leave, good Phillip.
Look, who is he? You're so behind the times, old family friend. I'll fill you in once I have talked to Mom. Mother, I am not old Sir Robert's son. Sir Robert might have ate his part of me and still not broken his Good Friday fast. Sir Robert would be lucky, face the facts, to get to say that he resembles me. We've seen his handiwork, therefore, good mother, to whom am I beholden for these limbs? You obviously slept with someone else.
Have you conspired with your brother too? You should defend my honor for your sake. Why do you scorn me, you ungrateful knave?
Knight, good mother, shining armor-like. Look, I am dubbed. I have it on my shoulder. See, mother, I am not Sir Robert's son. I have disclaimed Sir Robert and my land. Legitimation, name, and all are gone. Mother, please tell me who my father was. Some proper man, I hope. Who was it, Mom?
Have you denied yourself a Falconbridge?
As faithfully as I deny the devil.
King Richard, Coeur de Leon was your father. By long and vehement suit, I was seduced to make room for him in my husband's bed. Heaven don't blame my child for my trespass. You are the issue of my dear offense, which was so strongly forced past my defense.
By this light were I begot again. Madam, I would not wish a better father. Some sins bear out their privileges on earth, though not in heaven. Your fault was not your folly. You had to place your heart at the dispose of him against whose fury and brute force the awesome lion could not win the fight. Whoever dares to say you did not well when I was got, I'll send his soul to hell. Come, lady, I will show you to my kin, and they shall say when Richard me begot, if you had just said no, it had been a sin. Who says it was, he lies, for it was not.
Act 2, Scene 1. France, before Angiers. Flourish. Enter before Angiers, a town in France, King Philip of France, Louis the Dauphin, Constance, Arthur, and their forces on one side, Duke of Austria wearing a lion's skin and his forces on the other.
Before Angiers, well met, brave Austria. Arthur, that great forerunner of your blood, Richard, who robbed the lion of his heart, by this brave duke came early to his grave. And in apology to Richard's kin, at our importance, Austria has come to pledge allegiance, child, on your behalf, and to prevent the hostile takeover by your unnatural uncle, English John. Embrace him, love him, give him welcome here.
God will forgive you Corleone's death because you choose to give his children life, sheltering their right under your wings of war. I give you welcome with a powerless hand, but with a heart full of unstained love. Welcome before the gates of Anjou, Duke.
A noble boy, who would not treat you well?
I lay this zealous kiss upon your cheek, a seal to prove the contract of my love, that to my home no more will I return till Angiers and the right you have in France is safe from any foreign influence, even till England, utmost corner of the West, salutes you for her king. Till then, fair boy, I will not think of home. I'll think of war.
Oh, take his mother's thanks, a widow's thanks, till your strong hand shall help to give him strength to make it more requitable to your love.
The peace of heaven is theirs that lift their swords in such a just and charitable war.
Let's get to work. Our cannon shall be aimed against the brows of this resisting town. We'll lay our royal bones before Angers. With Frenchmen's blood, we'll flood the marketplace, but we will make it subject to this boy.
Wait for an answer from your messenger, lest ignorant you stain your sword with blood. My lord Chatillon may bring word from England that right in peace, which here we urge in war, and then we should repent each drop of blood that hot rash haste so indirectly shed.
Enter Chatillon.
A wonder, lady. Look, upon your wish, our messenger Chatillon is arrived. What England says, say briefly, gentle lord. We calmly wait for you. Chatillon, speak.
England, impatient with your just demand, has armed himself. The adverse winds whose leisure I have stayed have given him time to land his legions all as soon as I. He's right around the corner from this town. His force is strong, his soldiers confident. With him, the mother queen is brought along, like Ate, ancient goddess of all strife. With her, her niece, the Lady Blanch of Spain. With them, a bastard of the Lion King, and all the angry jobless of the land, rash, inconsiderate, fiery young recruits who gambled everything to come to war, bearing their birthrights proudly on their backs to take a risk and find their fortunes here.
Drum beats.
The interruption of their churlish drums cut short my repartee. See, here they come.
How much unlooked for is this expedition?
Unlooked for? Unexpected? By as much we must awake endeavor for defense, for courage rises with occasion. Let them be welcome then. We are prepared.
Enter King John, bastard, Queen Elinor, Blanch, the Earl of Pembroke, Salisbury, and the English forces.
Peace be to France. If France in peace permit our possession of what belongs to us. If not, we will bleed France, and peace will fly, while we, God's wrathful agent, castigate the lot of those who beat his peace to heaven.
Peace be to England, if you take war back from France to England and stay there in peace. England we love, and for that England's sake, with burden of our armor here we sweat. The job we're doing should be done by you, but you're so far away from loving England that you have undermined its lawful king, cut off the sequence of the family line, intimidated and committed rape upon the maiden virtue of the crown. Look here upon your brother Geoffrey's face. These eyes, these brows were molded out of his. This little abstract replicates that large which died with Geoffrey, and the hand of time will draw this brief into as huge a volume. That Geoffrey was your older brother born, and this his son. England was Geoffrey's right, and this is Geoffrey's. In the name of God, how comes it then that you are called a king, when living blood does in these temples beat, which own the crown that you have dared to steal?
Who gives you jurisdiction in this case? To make me answer your unfounded claims?
God, the heavenly judge that stirs good thoughts in any breast of strong authority, to look into the blots and stains of right. That judge has made me guardian to this boy, and under his warrant I impeach your wrong, and with his help I mean to punish you.
Beware, you do usurp authority.
I must do so to beat usurping down.
Who is it that you call usurper, France?
Let me make answer. Your usurping son.
Out, insolent! Your bastard shall be king, that you may be a queen and check the world.
My bed was ever to your son as true as yours was to your husband. And this boy liker in feature to his father, Geoffrey, than you to John, whose manners are like yours. Like rain to water, devil to his dam. My boy, a bastard. By my soul, I think his father wasn't as so true conceived. He simply couldn't be, since you're his mom.
There's a good mother, boy, that blots your father.
There's a good grandma, boy, who would blot you.
Peace.
Hear the crier.
Well, who the hell are you?
One that will play the devil, sir, with you. Who'll snatch that lion skin when you're alone. You're like the bunny, as the saying goes, who bravely plucks dead lions by the beard. I'll burn your skin coat if I catch you right. Watch out! I'm coming for you. Here I come.
Blanche.
Blanche. Is Blanche here?
Caroline, blanch us, shall you?
Caroline, if you want to step in.
I can't because I can't. I just clicked on
Brenda? Is Brenda Blanche?
Yeah.
623, Caroline.
I know. It's just that my page won't scroll. There we go. Who wore it best?
Yeah.
Ready? Sorry. Now I'm trying to find my video. There we go. Who wore it best? Richard the Lion-Hearted, who first disrobed that lion, not this fool.
Put on the back of him as Hercules' shoes upon his ass. But ass, I'll take that burden from your back and lay on that shall make your shoulders crack.
What cracker is this same who deafs our ears with such abundance of superfluous breath? Quickly, King Phillip, tell us what to do.
Women and fools, break off your conference. King John, perhaps I'll spell it out for you. England and Ireland, Anjou, Touraine, Maine, in right of Arthur I do claim from you. Will you forfeit them and lay down your arms?
My life is soon. I do defy you, France. Arthur of Brittany, yield up to my hand, and out of my dear love, I'll give you more than e'er that coward hand of France can win. Submit then, boy.
Come to your grandma, child.
Yes, child, surrender to your grandmother. Give grandma your whole kingdom. Grandma will give you a plum, a cherry, and a fig. That's a good grandma.
Good my mother, peace. I wish that I were laid low in my grave. I am not worth this trouble made for me.
His mother shames him so. Poor boy, he weeps.
Shame upon you whether I do or not. His grandma's wrongs and not his mother's shames draw tears from his eyes like heaven-moving pearls, which heaven shall take as if they were a fee. Yes, with these crystal beads, heaven is bribed to do him justice and revenge on you.
You monstrous slanderer of heaven and earth.
You monstrous injurer of heaven and earth. Don't call me slanderer when you usurp the territories, royalties, and rights of this oppressed boy, your oldest grandson, unfortunate in nothing but in you. Your sins are visited on this poor child. He will live out the letter of God's law, being but the second generation separated from your sin-conceiving womb.
Crazy! Stop this.
I've just got this to say. That he's not only damned for her sin, but God has made her sin and her the plague of this unlucky offspring, plagued for her and by her. Her sin is his injury. Her injury, the payment for her sin, all punished in the person of this child, and all because of her. A plague on her.
You ignorant bitch. I can at once produce a will that voids the title of your son.
Oh, who doubts that? A will! A wicked will. A woman's will, a crooked grandma's will.
Peace, lady, pause, or be more temperate. It does not suit us to play umpire for you harpy screeching repetitions. Hey, trumpet player, summon to the walls these men of Angiers. Let us hear them speak whose title they admit, Arthur's or John's.
Trumpet sounds. Enter a citizen of Angiers upon the walls.
Who is it that has called us to our walls?
It's France for England.
England for itself. You men of Angiers and my loving subjects.
You loving men of Angiers, Arthur's subjects, our trumpet called. Let's have a little talk.
For our advantage, therefore hear us first. These flags of France that are advanced here before the eye and prospect of your town have made this march for your endangerment. Their cannons have their bows full of wrath, and they are ready mounted to spit forth their iron indignation against your walls. But on the sight of us, your lawful king, the French, amazed, want a little talk. And now instead of bullets wrapped in fire, they shoot words like blanks that go up in smoke to blow a faithless promise in your ears, which you must disbelieve, kind citizens, and let us in. I am your king. My spirits, exhausted in this action of swift speed, request safe harbor in your city's walls.
When I have said, make answer to us both.
Phillip takes Arthur by the hand.
Look, in this right hand, whose protection is most divinely vowed upon the right of him it holds, stands young Plantagenet, son to the older brother of this man, and king over him and all that he enjoys. For Arthur's stolen and downtrodden rights, we march in armed battalion against your town. We are no further enemy to you. So pay that duty which you truly owe to him that owns it, namely this young prince. And then our guns are muzzled like a bear. They might look scary, but they don't cause harm. Our cannons' malice vainly shall be spent against the invulnerable clouds of heaven, and with a blessed and unvexed retreat, with unhacked swords and helmets all unbruised, we will bear home that lusty blood again, which we were set to spill upon your town, and leave your children, wives, and you in peace. But listen up. If you refuse this deal, not even the circumference of your walls will save you from our messengers of war. Then, tell us, shall your city call us Lord? That's what we ask, desire, and demand. This is the turning point. Should we fire first and spill your blood to get what's really ours?
In brief, we are the King of England's subjects. For him and in his right, we hold this town.
Acknowledge me your king, and let me in.
That we cannot. But he that proves the king, to him we will prove loyal. Till that time, have we rammed up our gates against the world.
Does not the crown of England prove the king? And if not that, I bring you witnesses, twice 15,000 hearts of England's breed.
Bastards included.
To verify my title with their lives.
We have an equal number for the French.
Some bastards too, no doubt.
Stand in his face to contradict his claim.
Till you can prove whose right is worthiest, we will withhold our town from either side.
Then God forgive the sins of all those souls that to their everlasting residence before the dew of evening fall will rush in dreadful trial to our kingdom's king.
Amen, amen. Get on your horses, knights.
Crash the dragon, and ever since sits on the horseback on my tavern's door. Teach us to fight. Mister, if I were now at your place, mister, with your lioness, I'd pluck the cuckold's horns upon your head and make a monster of you.
Peace, no more.
Oh, tremble, for you hear the lion's roar.
On top of yonder hill, we'll set up camp and organize our eager regiments.
Speed then to take advantage of the field.
Shall be so, and at the other hill command the rest to stand. God and our right.
Here, after excursions, enter the French herald with trumpeters to the gates.
You men of Angiers, open wide your gates and let young Arthur, Duke of Brittany, in, who, by the hand of France, this day has made much work for tears in many an English mother whose bleeding sons lie scattered on the ground. Many a widow's husband lies face down, coldly embracing the discolored earth, and victory, at little cost, does play upon the dancing banners of the French, who are at hand, triumphantly displayed, to enter conquerors and to proclaim Arthur of Brittany, England's king, and yours.
Enter English herald with trumpet. Do, 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 do. Rejoice, you men of Angiers, ring your bells. King John, your king and England's now approaches, commander of this hot malicious day. His armors that marched here so silver bright are coming back crusted with Frenchmen's blood. There struck no plume in any English crest that is removed by a sword of France. Our colors do return in our own hands that did display them when first we marched. And like a jolly troop of huntsmen come our hearty English, with their blood-stained hands dyed in the dying slaughter of their foes. Open your gates and let the winners in.
Heralds! From our towers, we saw every move from first to last, the scrimmage and retreat of both your armies. And who is winning? By our keen eyes cannot be determined. Blood has brought blood, and blows have answered blows, strength matched with strength, and power confronted power. Both are alike, and both alike we like. One must prove greatest. While you weigh so even, we hold our town for neither, yet for both.
Enter on one side King John, Queen Elinor, Blanch, the bastard, the Earl of Salisbury, and English forces. On the other side, King Phillip, Louis the Dauphin, Austria, and French forces.
France, have you even more blood to cast away? Say, should the current of our right roam on, whose passage, vexed with your impediment, will leave its native channel, flood its banks, overflowing even your walled borders, unless you let his silver water keep a peaceful progress to the ocean.
England, you have not saved one drop of blood in this hot trial more than we of France, rather lost more. And I swear by this hand that sways the earth this climate overlooks, before we will lay down our just-born arms, we'll put you down against our enemies, or add a royal number to the dead, telling the noble story of this war's loss with slaughter coupled to the name of kings.
Majesty, how high your glory towers when the rich blood of kings is set on fire. Now death smiles at us with a grill of steel. The swords of soldiers are his teeth, his fangs, and now he feasts, mousing the flesh of men in undetermined differences of kings. Why are your armies just standing around? Cry havoc, kings, back to the bloody field, you equal potents, fire-kindled spirits, then let confusion of one part confirm the other's peace. Till then, blows, blood, and death.
Citizens, whose side will you let in?
Speak, citizens, for England. Who's your king?
The King of England, when we know the king.
Know him in us that here hold up his right.
In us, that are our own great deputy. We bear possession of our person here, lord of our presence, Angiers, and of you.
A greater power than we denies you both. Until there is no doubt, we will keep locked all our concerns in our strong barred gates, kinged by our fears, until our fears are soothed, purged, and dethroned by the definitive king.
My heaven, these punks of Angiers mock you, kings, and stand securely on their balconies as in a theater, where they gape and point and watch you play out scenes and acts of death. Royal presences, do what I say. Be friends a while, and both conjointly bend your sharpest deeds of malice on this town. I'd fire incessantly upon these jades until I'd strip them of their defenses and leave them naked in the vulgar air. That done, dissever your united strengths and part your mingled colors once again, turn face to face and bloody sword to sword. Then, in a moment, fortune then shall choose her happy minion from between your sides, to whom in favor she shall give the day and kiss him with a glorious victory. How like you this wild counsel, mighty kings? Smacks it not something of the policy?
Now by the sky that hangs above our heads, I like it well. France, shall we knit our powers and lay this Angiers even to the ground? Then after that, we'll fight for who is king.
And if you have the mettle of a king, insulted as we are by this rude town, turn the barrels of your artillery as we will ours against these saucy walls. And when we've shooked and awed them to the ground, then we'll defy each other and pell-mell make work upon ourselves for heaven or hell.
Let it be so. Say, where will you assault?
We from the west will send destruction into this city's bosom.
I from the north.
Our thunder from the south shall rain their drift of bullets on this town.
Strategy. From north to south, Austria and France shoot each other's mouths. I'll stir them to it. Come, away, away.
Hear us, great kings. Let's walk this back a bit. And I shall show you peace and fair-faced league. You'll win the city without stroke or wound. Allow your men to die in their own beds. There would have been just cannon fodder here. Persever not, but hear me, mighty kings.
Keep going. We're listening to you.
That daughter there of Spain, the Lady Blanch, is niece to England. Can you imagine the Prince of France with that most lovely maid? If lusty love should go in quest of beauty, where should he find it fairer than in Blanche? If pure love should go in search of virtue, where should he find it purer than in Blanche? If ambitious love went looking for a match whose veins flow richer blood than Lady Blanche, such as she is in beauty, virtue, birth, is the young Dauphin in every way complete. He is but one half of a perfect soul, left to be finished by someone like her. And she a pretty perfect half of him, whose fullness of perfection he completes. These two, such silver currents when they join, glorify the banks that bound them in. To such controlling shores shall you be, kings, to these two princes, if you marry them. This marriage will do more than any war to open up our walls. For this strong match will dynamite our gates, blow them so wide we must give entrance. But without this match, the stormy sea itself is not so deaf. Lions more confident, mountains and rocks more free from motion. No, not death itself in mortal fury half so determined as we to keep our city.
King Phillip and Louis the Dauphin walk aside and talk.
Carcass of old death, out of his rags. Here's a blowhard indeed that spits forth death, and mountains, rocks, and seas, talks as familiarly of roaring lions as maids of 13 do of puppy dogs. What warriors behind this lusty talk? He speaks plain cannon fire and smoke and bang. He tases them. He tortures with his tongue. Our ears are battered. Not a word of his, but buffets better than the fists of France. Christ, I was never so bethumped with words since I first called my brother's father Dad.
Son, pay attention, listen, make this match. Give with our niece a dowry large enough, and by this knot you'll tie and guarantee your now wobbly assurance to the crown. I see a yielding in the looks of France. See how they whisper? Urge them while their souls are capable of doing what we say, before zeal, melted by the windy breath of soft petitions, pity, sympathy, cool and congeal again to what it was.
Why don't you answer, double majesties, this friendly treaty of our threatened town?
England first. Since you spoke first last time we spoke unto this city, what say you?
If the Dauphin there, your princely son, can in this book of beauty read I love, her dowry will weigh equal with a queen, will gild her bridal bed and make her rich in titles, honors, and in privilege.
Son, what do you say? Look in the lady's face.
I do, my lord, and in her eye I find a wonder or a wondrous miracle
I see the shadow of myself in there, which, being the shadow of your sun, becomes a sun and makes me just a shade. What can I say? I never loved myself until just now I see myself through her, drawn in the sweet reflection of her eye.
Sweet reflection of her eye, hanged in the frowning wrinkle of her brow and quartered in her heart. He shows that he will prove to be love's traitor. What a shame that hanged and drawn and quartered there should be in such a love so vile a jerk as he.
My uncle's will in this respect is mine. If he sees anything that he approves, anything at all in you that's to his liking, I will with ease translate it to my will. I'll never falsely flatter you, Lewis, that all I see in you is lovable. I'll say instead, there's nothing that I see, though unkind thoughts themselves would be your judge, which I can tell would give me cause to hate.
What say these young ones? Blanche, did you decide?
It's up to you. I must by honor do what you in your wisdom would have of me.
Speak, Prince Dauphin. Can you love my niece?
No, ask me if I can refrain from love, for I do love her most unfeignedly.
Then I'll make you a gift of provinces. Vaucressin, Touraine, Maine, Poitiers, Anjou are yours. And I'll throw in some hard cash too. 30,000 pounds English currency. Phillip of France, if this satisfies you, then order them to join hands and be wed.
It pleases me. Young royals, close your hands.
And your lips too, for I am well assured that I did so when I was first assured.
Dauphin and Blanche join hands and kiss.
Now, people of Angers, open your gates. Let the alliance that you made play out, and at St. Mary's Chapel presently the rites of marriage shall be celebrated. Isn't the Lady Constance in our group? I'm certain she is not, for her presence would have thwarted the sealing of this match. Where's she and little Arthur? Anyone?
She's sad and passionate in your highness's tent.
And by my faith, this match that we have made will give her sadness very little cure. Brother of England, how may we appease this grieving widow? On her behalf we came, which we, God knows, have turned the other way to our advantage.
We will heal up all. Once we pronounce young Arthur Duke of Brittany and Earl of Richmond, we'll make him lord of this fair town. Call the Lady Constance. Some speedy messenger should bring her now to our celebration. I trust we shall, if not fill up the measure of her will, yet in some measure satisfy her so that we shall stop her exclamation. Go we as well as haste will suffer us to this unlooked for, unprepared pomp.
Mad kings, mad goddamn compromise. John, to stop Arthur's title in the whole, has willingly departed with some land and France, whose armor conscience buckled on, whom zeal and charity brought to the field as God's soldier, was flattered and seduced by that same purpose changer, that sly devil that pimps, who slaps honor upside the head, that daily break vow, he that wins of all, of kings, of beggars, old men, young men, maids, who have no external thing to lose, but the word maid cheats the poor maid of that smooth-faced gentleman. Commodity, aka self-interest, sways the world that of itself is balanced well, made to run even upon even ground till opportunity presents itself. And mad self-interest, this commodity, makes it abandon all indifference from all direction, purpose, course, intent. And this same bias, this commodity, this whore, this pimp, this malleable word clapped on the wandering eye of fickle France seduced him from his spiritual desires, from a resolved and honorable war to a convenient and pragmatic truce. And why do I badmouth commodity? Only because he's not seduced me yet. Not that I am be able to turn him down if he sent forth an angel with a bribe, but since my hand goes unattempted yet, I rant against the rich like a poor beggar. And while I am a beggar, I will rant and say there is no sin but to be rich. Though once I'm rich, my virtue then shall be to say there is no vice but beggary, commodity. Since kings break faith for you, self-interest, you're the boss I'll worship too.
We will now pause for a discussion and a 10-minute break.
Oh, so great. Thanks, everyone. Come on back in. Wow, that thing just flies out of the gate, doesn't it? Ooh.
Yeah.
How's it feeling?
Good.
Punks of Angiers was a big hit for us. A Punk of Angiers and Pencil Dick, like these things pop up. You're like, oh,
Nimrod.
The bastard's got some fun language,
I love how those two first acts, they do really fly by, and they're just full of everybody. I mean, it's
right?
it just pings all over the place. One thing happens and then something else and then something else. And it's just kind of this constant moving mass of people.
That's what it feels like, kind of glomping around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no matter where the territory is.
And the public and the private, and how the personal and the political, that within these large scenes, you suddenly have these very private moments that are either intimate and private, or private moments being played out publicly. Mother-in-law and daughter-in-law having a public squabble about grandchild, right in the middle of like two nation states facing each other. It's a political, it's the United Nations. It's like we're on the battlefield, and then suddenly it's like, go to grandma, go to, and it's very, very personal. But they don't care. They're going to have it in public. And so the public and the private, and how that relates to personal and political, the dynamic of that, I just think that's kind of thrilling. I was saying, like, on the chat, like, I wish you could hear me laugh because it's so funny. Also, the play, I'm reminded about how funny it is.
So funny, yeah. And how it's so interesting hearing it in this format too, because there's something, I feel like even sitting around a table, you get more of a sense of the pageantry that we were talking about, and the fact that on its feet there is the sense that all of this is taking place outside of this structure that is the walls, or like you have a physical sense of the thing. But suddenly when they're just these heads, I was aware of like there are so many voices that are being heard in what is supposed to be this kind of formal international battle scene, and yet they're all just these individual voices who are trying to make the focus all about them. It's so fascinating.
And it feels a lot like there's a tremendous amount of chaos, and with the character of the bastard, that's kind of, I mean, it's funny, we laugh, but there's a certain sense that there is, the up and down is all kind of wonky. We don't have any order to rely on, so we kind of snicker and we laugh, but we also feel slightly uncomfortable with it, I think.
True.
Yeah.
Well, and he's the one that calls out all the dishonesty, I mean, he revels in it and he loves it.
Yes.
And he's willing to be just as dishonest if that's what it takes. But he's, the one talking to the audience saying, check this out. Like 2 seconds ago, they were all about God is the one that's put me here. And now they're like, sure, we'll make this deal. It's just so cynical.
Well, he's the window in too. The bastard is as the audience is our relationship into he's framing it anyway for us at this point. At this point,
learning how how to be in this world. I mean, he's such a quick study. He's so smart, right? He's like, oh, and such a gambler, opportunist, you know, like, oh, if I give this up, I'm going to be related to you now. Like he takes that gamble, and then he's knighted. And then, you know,
and then he's like, Mom, let me introduce you to my grandmother. Come with me and let me make an introduction. I know how, I love that too, because it's that game, right? It's like, okay, now I've set up the rules of the game. Oh, everyone else is playing a game too. That's what this whole thing is really about, right? Like, and how quickly people are renamed is always so striking to me. Like, just by proposing marriage, all of a sudden we might have peace because they might get married. You know, it's like, and it's just like that. And who's going to tell his mom, right? Like, who's going to tell Constance? Who's going to let anybody know that this is what?
They got to draw straws for that one, right?
Totally. Well, I love that it all happens, and then Phillip says, "Oh yeah, Constance.
Right.
She was here just a second ago.
Heavenly calling, like the political expediency of it all. Like, I'm going to forget about my God-given calling to support. And who are they supporting? A young boy, right? Like, oh yes, and they disguise it behind morality, right? Like, this is the legitimate ruler. I've been told by God that I need to support this young child to be king. It's his, like, and who's gonna, like, it's really clear why they want a young child to be king, Austria and France, right? Like, who's gonna control that young child?
Right. Right.
Yeah, he's so vulnerable. He's just such a vulnerable kid, and he's so innocent. And you just see him like tenderly giving his heart to whoever is near him.
Yeah, so he reminds me so much, as I was reading it this week, of Henry. Of Henry VI, that he is just so innocent. And he was like, because the way he speaks too, which we'll hear later on, is just, yeah, he's just hopeful and has like, thinks that people are going to be great, and then things are happening around, and he's like, I have no control over any of this.
Hey, Taylor, have we got any comments from the live streamers?
We've got a couple. You know, someone saying that the public and private exchange shows power and carelessness for limits. And the bastard is so self-conscious. These characters know what they are doing, good or bad. Someone else commenting about the bastard says the bastard's agency is a wonderful foil to Arthur's proppishness. And then we just got a comment I'm going to read through. It says about this that's delectably soapy via a 1980s miniseries like Thornbirds or Lace. They quote an iconic Lace line, "Which one of you bitches
Bastards
is my mother?" Yeah.
Yes.
And yes, yeah, and a similar one from Lace, apparently.
I loved Lace.
Oh, so good. So good.
But it is a soap opera, right? Like, it is like, it is like those. It's like rich and wealthy aristocratic people in power behaving badly and having, you know, all this family strife. You know.
Yeah, it's they're so mean to each other too. I mean, it has that sort of delicious, you know, kind of feel to it.
Yeah,
I feel like that's the
Go ahead.
Well, that I think was one of the big surprises for the play, and I feel like it's still, when I listen to it, that it is so soapy, and that's why, and it feels like on some level like it is a parody of a history play. And the idea that there was this play that it, in all likelihood, is an adaptation of, that was probably a popular play, and that the story of King Arthur was one that the audience of Shakespeare's time would have known very well, but we don't know it at all for the most part. So I feel like we approach this play with this kind of expectation of seriousness and a little bit of a burden of like, oh, I'm never going to understand it. then you hear it and you're so surprised by how irreverent it is, and how there are these changes of tone that seem to really challenge our attempt to take the play seriously. And yet we have it's hard to buy into this idea of making fun of it, because I feel like we come with this burden of trying to understand the history as we're reading it. So we're trying to figure out who these people are. How do we even know that we're free to laugh at them yet, or something, or to enjoy the soapiness of it?
I feel like I don't feel like it's a parody in that sense. I feel like the hypocrisy of politics constantly in the whole fucking world is the truth. And all it is as, you know, holding us toward the mirror up to nature, right? Here we are, Shakespeare. But like, this is true. Like, do we all believe in the king's sovereign right from God? If so, then my son's the king, but you guys are all politicking, but we're all supposed to follow these rules. And we're still all doing that, right? We believe in this constitution and these ideas for our government, but then all this other shit happens. So I think it just makes it so clear that the hypocrisy of power is just right there. And we don't have to make that a farce. It's other than the farce of our life, right? Like, so I think both things are living together in a great way.
Yes, I guess the one thing I think what's in some ways what's being parodied in the play, and this is maybe is the style of presentation. I don't think the subject is being parodied at all, but it's so much related to a kind of medieval tradition of staging plays.
And when we meet Pandolf, that's like the essence of that, right, Drew?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
Pandolf is, at first I disliked him so much because his language is like bashing your head on the sidewalk. It's so impossible. It's like unpacking that language was so difficult, but he's such an amazing character and he epitomizes what you're talking about, Drew, that, you know, pageantry and sense of like, there's this way of being in the world. There's a right way and a wrong way.
It does have, when I was listening to it this time, it feels a little bit like the bastard is almost like a Harlequin character. I mean, there is something of that in him. It does have a kind of a throwback to a kind of, you know, like the mystery plays. I mean, it sort of has that style that then gets really tossed up in this very kind of free, much freer way, where the characters feel so much more three-dimensional.
Yeah, the character of vice in morality plays that would kind of come forward and kind of delight us with how bad somebody can be.
Yeah, and that the bastard can shift allegiances at the beginning of the play. He's like, I'm going to go with these people. I'm going to go with this family. You know, he just kind of like, he does have agency in the play, and he does that switch from like talking about self-interest. Like, I better take care of myself here. He epitomizes a lot of that energy in the play as well.
He's a fast learner.
Yes.
Yeah. It strikes me that he watches these people filled with self-interest under the guise of moral certitude, right? He sees that and he says, oh, I see what this is about. This is how I'm gonna get ahead in this world. And for all the strategizing, I just love in that scene at On Shakespeare that the best political strategies come from a bastard and an unnamed citizen.
Right.
Well, the King of France and the King of England are like, well, what should we do? Let us in. Let us in. And the citizens like, no, sort it out. Figure out who's king. And they're like, but and it takes a bastard to say, hey, what are you doing? The two of you, why don't you just turn on them? And then I think what's so brilliant is that it's a citizen who says, whoa, wait. Like, so fast thinking, and says, how about, you know, that pretty woman there marries that guy? I bet they would really like it. I mean, brokers a political alliance through marriage and saves his town, prevents war, and it's an unnamed citizen. I mean, Louis was saying it in our little chat, like, that's Shakespeare, right? Like, that's.
And it's so interesting because that just makes me think about the fact of that in that moment, the citizen comes up with the idea. Then we see Blanche and the Dauphin in a somewhat, kind of adjust to the idea of getting married. And then moments later, we get Blanche responding to the idea of having this choice between her husband and her uncle with this very sincere emotional investment, one that's actually quite moving to see this, to see Blanche in this position. But we've seen that that whole journey has happened based on this kind of spur of the moment thought from the citizen. It's like this whole compression of a dramatic arc in this tiny little sequence of time, which is so fascinating. Because that speech of Blanche's is so moving, and tells us so much about that human life.
The one that we're going to get into.
That exactly. That. Whoops. Sorry. Spoiler.
Spoiler.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Right. Well, the rule of threes, right? So we've met her a little bit. We had the fake marriage, and now what's going to be the payoff for that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think there's a lot of humor the way the play is structured. And I too, Rosa, I'm laughing a lot. It's very odd to do these plays where we can't kind of like laugh with each other kind of thing. It's just, but just know that it's popping in beautiful ways. And y'all are doing really great. Caro, I would love to talk to you about your microphone, but in the meantime, let's take 10 minutes. Everybody walk away from the laptop. We'll come back and see what happens to poor old Arthur and Blanche. Yeah.
Nothing happens. He's fine.
Hey, Caro?
Yeah.
Yeah, it just sometimes like the beginning of a sentence, if you're a little bit away from your computer, we don't hear the first couple words.
Okay, I'm gonna put my earphones in then, just so that you can always get
Yeah,
it.
I was gonna ask you if you had those because I think that will help. That would be great.
That's perfect. Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
thank you.
You're welcome. I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, I'm so happy you're here too. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll see you soon.
Yep.
Yeah. And Sarah played Austria. And Kai played Constance. Kate played the role I'm reading.
Sorry about all that, Caroline. Oh, you're on mute.
I had my own troubles getting into it. There's too many things.
Awesome. Off to a great start.
There's a lot of things to take care of here.
Yeah. What happened, Brenda?
Oh, just when I go to talk, it shuts down. It's like it knows. Yeah. So I switched though to like my phone as a hotspot, and so far, knock wood, that's been going better.
Okay.
I think just when there's a lot of participants in Zoom on my computer, it just can't handle it. No. Anyway, so fingers crossed, we're okay. Keep y'all on your toes.
Hey, pal. This crazy piece of hair. All right, that's better.
We're back.
Are we all back? Or where's?
Yeah, folks want to just come on with their video just so we know everyone's back before we get started.
Great. And can you hear me better?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Perfect. You got it.
Really
Also, for just so folks know for the next break that the live stream doesn't actually stop during the break. I don't have a problem with folks like chatting with each other during the break. I think it's kind of fun, but do know that the audience is hearing.
All right. Good to know.
Yeah, well, if they wanted to listen,
I'm just gonna sign off.
I wanted to listen to that for the last 10 minutes.
Having a time.
Yeah.
The real first rehearsal deal, right?
Yeah, exactly. Around the snack table is what you were saying.
I brought snacks with me.
I usually wait
Not
for the
on
third
camera,
break.
so I don't have to worry.
Yeah, the snacks come out in the third break. Oh, that was great, Caroline, jumping in. Sorry about that, Brenda. I was just, that's what happens. And we added this role when we, there's a company in England that is reading all 39 plays in chronological order, like once a week.
Wow.
And I caught the first one, which was 2 gents. It was like, I don't know, 6 weeks ago or something. And they had 2 stringers just for the sheer, like who knows? And they were everywhere around the world too. So, anybody's Wi-Fi could be whiffy at any given time.
Especially now when everybody's streaming something.
Yeah.
So
it's like, we'll get through it. We have a great conversation. We're having fun together. Like, that seems like a Friday afternoon activity to me.
It's also
just a game and just sort of like rolling with it. I mean, I had my problems. I'm like, whoops.
Well, thanks for everyone's patience.
Yeah.
No, it's the way I actually learned from you, Louis, because I'm going to be doing a reading with my students. And I was like, we need stringers. So
you just don't know. You just don't know, right? And so, anyway, well, let's just see what's going on. We're going to read 3 and 4 now, right? Let's just see how things develop a little bit further. So, Caroline, when you're ready to lead us in, take us forth.
Act 3, Scene 1, the French King's Pavilion. Enter Constance, Arthur, and the Earl of Salisbury.
Gone to be married? Gone to swear a peace? Will Lewis get Blanche and Blanche those provinces? It isn't so. Say you are mistaken. It cannot be. You do but say it's so. I cannot trust you, for your word is but the vain breath of a common man. I have a king's oath to the contrary. You will be punished for scaring me like this, for I am sick, susceptible to fears, oppressed with wrongs, and therefore full of fears. Now, if you were to say this was a prank, with my vexed spirits, I could not settle down, but I will quake and tremble all this day. What do you mean by shaking your head? Why do you look so sadly on my son? Why do your eyes hold those pathetic tears, like proud rivers peering over their banks? Are these sad signs a kind of guarantee? Then speak again, not all of your long tale, but this one word, whether or not it's true.
As true as I believe you think them false that give you cause to prove my saying true.
Oh, if you teach me to believe this sorrow, then teach this sorrow how to make me die. And let belief and life encounter so as does the fury of two desperate men who in their very meeting fall and die. Lewis, marry Blanche. My boy, then where are you? France, friends with England? What becomes of me? Get out, I cannot stand the sight of you. This news has made you a most ugly man.
What other harm have I done, good lady, but spoke the harm that is by others done?
Which harm within itself is so heinous as it makes harmful all that speak of it?
I beg you, please, mother, be content.
If you, who wishes me content, were foul, speckled with warts and little ugly dots, full of unpleasing blots and stainless stains, lame, foolish, crooked, sick, prodigious, covered with moles, an eye offending spot, I would not care. I would then be content, for then I should not love you. You would not become your great birth or deserve a crown, but you are gorgeous. And at your birth, dear boy, nature and fortune joined to make you great. You may, like lilies, boast of nature's gifts, and like the blooming rose. But fickle fortune has been corrupted, changed, and cheated you. She's fornicating with your Uncle John, and with her golden hand has prodded France to trample down respect and sovereignty, and made Philip's majesty bawd to them. France is bawd to fortune and King John, that strumpet fortune, that usurping John. Tell me, good man, is not France a liar? Defame him with your words, or go away and leave me with the sadness I alone am destined to endure.
I am sorry, ma'am, I may not go without you to the king's.
You may, you shall. I will not go with you. I will instruct my sorrow to be proud, for grief is proud and makes his owner droop. To this supremacy of my prized grief, let kings assemble, for my grief so great that no supporter but the huge firm earth can hold it up. Here I and sorrow sit. The dirt's my throne. Let kings come worship it.
Constance remains seated on the ground. Flourish. Enter King John, King Phillip, Louis the Dauphin, Blanche, Queen Elinor, Bastard, and Austria.
It's true, fair daughter, and this blessed day shall always be a holiday in France.
Is that me?
Yes.
Is this a wicked day?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my text is weird. A wicked day and not a holy day. What does this day deserve? What has it done that it should be in golden letters set among the high tides in the calendar? No, rather turn this day out of the week, this day of shame, oppression, perjury. Or if it must stay put, let pregnant women pray that their babies not be born today, because their hopes will be completely lost. And on this day, let sailors know they'll wreck. All treaties made on this day will be broke. This day, all things begun come to ill end, and faith itself become a desperate lie.
By heaven, lady, you will have no cause to curse the fair proceedings of this day. Have I not pledged my loyalty to you?
You have lied to me with a counterfeit resembling loyalty, which, tried and tested, proves to be worthless. You are perjured, perjured. You came in arms to spill my enemy's blood, but now, in arms, you marry it to yours? The grappling vigor and rough frown of war is cold in amity and painted peace. And my oppression has made up this league. Arm, arm, you heavens, against these perjured kings. A widow cries, be my husband, God. Don't let the hours of this ungodly day wear out the day in peace before night falls. Set armed discord between these lying kings. Hear me, please hear me.
Lady Constance, peace.
War! War, not peace! Peace is a war to me! Oh, Limigos of Austria, how you shame that lion's skin! You slave, you wretch, you coward! You're big and strong when on the stronger side, when you're fortune's champion, but you only fight when her capricious ladyship's nearby to grant your safety. You're a liar too. Suck up to greatness. What a fool you are, a blustering fool, to brag and stamp and swear as if on my behalf, you cold-blooded slave. Haven't you roared like thunder on my side? Been sworn my soldier? Bidding me depend upon your stars, your fortune, and your strength. And now you go over to my enemies. You wear a lion's skin, strip it off for shame, and hang a calf skin on those recreant limbs.
Oh, that a man should speak those words to me.
And hang a calf skin on those recreant limbs.
You dare not say so, villain, or you die.
And hang a calf skin on those recreant limbs.
Enter Pandulph.
Here comes the Pope's holy ambassador.
Hail, thou anointed deputies of God. To thee, King John, my holy errand is. I, Pandulph, of fair Milan Cardinal, and from Pope Innocent the legate here, do in his name religiously demand why thou against the church, our holy mother, so willfully dost spurn, and force perforce keep Stephen Langton, chosen Archbishop of Canterbury, from his holy seat.
Who do you think you are, you nobody, to tax the free breath of a sacred king? You cannot, Cardinal, cook up a name so slight, unworthy, and ridiculous to demand I answer to as the Pope. Tell him this tale, and from the mouth of England add this much more, that no Italian priest shall tax or troll in our dominions. But as we under God our supreme head, so under God, that great supremacy where we do reign, we will alone uphold without the interference of a mere mortal. So tell the Pope, all reverence set apart to him and his bogus authority.
Brother of England, you blaspheme in this.
Though you and all the kings of Christendom are stupidly led by this meddling priest, dreading a curse that money may erase, for by the merit of vile gold, trash, dust, you purchase absolution for your sins. All by myself, I fight and I oppose this papal fake and count his friends my foes.
Then, by the lawful power that I have, thou shalt stand cursed and excommunicate, and blessed shall be he that doth revoke from his allegiance to this heretic, and meritorious shall that hand be called, canonized and worshipped as a saint, that takes away by any secret course thy hateful life.
Oh, lawful let it be, that I have room with Rome to curse a while. Good Father Cardinal, cry out amen to my loud curses, for without my wrong, no tongue has any power to curse him right.
There's law and warrant, lady, for my curse.
And for mine too. When law can do no right, let it be lawful, I can do no wrong. Law cannot give my child his kingdom here, since he who holds the kingdom holds the law. Therefore, since law itself is perfect wrong, how can the law forbid my tongue to curse?
Phillip takes John's hand and holds it forcefully.
Philip of France, on peril of a curse, let go the hand of that arch heretic, and raise the power of France upon his head, unless he do submit himself to Rome.
You look frightened, France. Don't unclasp your hand.
That's the way, devil. Don't let France repent, for by disjoining hands he'll lose his soul.
King Philip, listen to the cardinal.
And hang a calfskin on his recreant limbs.
Well, ruffian, I must pocket up these wrongs because...
You're wearing brand new calfskin pants.
Philip, what say you to the cardinal?
What should he say but amen, Cardinal?
Choose wisely, Father. The difference may purchase you a heavy curse from Rome versus the loss of England as your friend. Let go the easier.
The curse of Rome.
Louis, hold fast. The devil tempts you here in likeness of your newly blushing bride.
The Lady Constance speaks not from her faith, but from her need.
Oh, if you grant my need, which only lives but by the death of faith, that need must then imply this principle. My faith may live again by death of need. Oh, then beat down my need, and faith will arise. Keep my need up, and faith stays beaten down.
You've angered him. He will not answer you.
Oh, be removed from John and answer true.
Do so, King Philip. Hang no more in doubt.
Hang nothing but a calfskin, most sweet kraut.
I am perplexed and don't know what to say.
What canst thou say but will perplex thee more if thou stand excommunicate and cursed?
Reverend Father, make my person yours and tell me what you'd do if you were me. John's royal hand and mine are newly knit with all religious strength of sacred vows. When last we spoke, we promised each other our deep sworn faith, peace, amity, true love between our kingdoms and our royal selves. And even before this truce, minutes before, not even long enough to wash our hands, to close this royal bargain up in peace, God knows our hands were bloody and were stained by slaughter's paintbrush, where revenge did paint the fearful difference of enraged kings. And shall these hands, so lately washed of blood, so newly joined in love, so strong in both, undo this handshake and this liaison? Play fast and loose with faith, so joke with heaven, make such unconstant children of ourselves as now again to snatch our palm from palm, unswear faith sworn, and on the marriage bed of smiling peace to march a bloody host and make riot on the gentle brow of true sincerity. Oh, holy sir, out of your grace devise, ordain, impose some gentle order, then we shall be blessed to do your pleasure and continue friends.
All form is formless, order orderless, save what is opposite to England's love. Therefore to arms, be champion of our church, or let the church, our mother, breathe her curse, a mother's curse, on her rebellious son, France. Thou mayest seize a serpent by the tongue, a wounded lion by its tender paw, a hungry tiger safer by its fang, then keep in peace that hand which thou doth hold.
I may let go John's hand, but not my oath.
By holding on, thou forfeit thine true oath and instigate an inner civil war, thy tongue against thy tongue. Oh, let thy vow first made to God, first be to God performed. That is, be thou champion of our church. Thy latest oath was sworn against thyself and must not be performed against thyself. For when what thou hast sworn to do is wrong, it is not wrong to do what makes it right. And being not done where doing tends to ill, the truth is then most done, not doing it. Religion makes thou keep thy holy vows, but thou hast sworn against religion, and makes thine oath a guarantee of truth against thine faith, swearing to be forsworn. There is no better conquest thou canst make than arm thy constant and thy nobler parts against these giddy, loose temptations, upon which better part our prayers come in, if you accept them. But if not, then know the peril of our curses light on thee, so heavy as thou shalt not shake them off.
Rebellion! Flat!
Will you shut up? Will not a calfskin stop your big fat mouth?
Father, to arms!
Upon my wedding day? What? Shall our feast be kept with slaughtered men? Should braying trumpets and loud thumping drums, clamors of hell, be measures to our pomp? Oh, husband, hear me. Yes, alas, how new is husband in my mouth. Even for that name, which until now my tongue never pronounced, upon my knee, I beg, don't go to war against my uncle.
Oh, upon my knee, made hard with kneeling, I do pray to thee, you virtuous Dauphin, alter not the doom ordained by heaven.
Now I shall see your love. What motive may be stronger with you than the name of wife?
That which upholds him, and that he upholds his honor. Oh, your honor, Louis, your honor.
I wonder, Father, why you are so cold when such considerations call to you.
I will pronounce a curse upon your head.
There is no need. England, I fall from thee.
Oh, fair return of banished majesty!
Oh, foul revolt of French inconsistency!
France, you'll regret this hour within this hour.
Which side do I choose? With whom do I go? I am with both. Each army has a hand, and in their rage, I'm holding on to both. They whirl asunder and dismember me. Husband, I cannot pray that you will win. Uncle, I needs must pray that you will lose. Father, I may not wish you good fortune. Grandma, I will not wish your dreams come true. Whoever wins, on that side I will lose.
Lady, with me, your fortune lies.
And where my fortune lives, there my life dies.
She
Cousin,
goes to him.
cousin, it's time to gather up our troops. France, I am burning with a fiery wrath, a rage with heat of such extremity that nothing can allay, nothing but blood, the blood and dearest valued blood of France.
Your rage shall burn you up, and you shall turn your ashes ere our blood shall quench that fire. Look to yourself. You are in jeopardy.
No more than he that threatens. Let's go fight.
Act 3, Scene 2. The plains near Angers. Alarms, excursions. Enter Bastard with Austria's head.
Now by my life this day grows wondrous hot. Some airy devil hovers in the sky and pours down mischief. Austria's head, stay put while I catch my breath.
He throws down the head. Enter King John, Arthur, and Hubert.
Hubert, watch this boy. Cousin, wake up. My mother was assaulted in her tent and kidnapped, I'm afraid.
I rescued her. Her highness is in safety, have no fear. Let's go, my liege, for very little pains will bring this labor to a happy end.
Act 3, Scene 3, the same. Alarms, excursions, and retreats. Enter King John, Queen Elinor, Arthur, Bastard, Hubert, and Lords.
So it shall be. Your grace shall stay behind and strongly guarded. Nephew, don't be sad. Your grandma loves you, and I soon will be as dear to you as your own father should.
Well, this will make my mother die of grief.
Cousin, let's get to England. You go first before me, making sure you shake the bags of money-grubbing priests and liberate their stolen currency. Fat ribs of peace will now be eaten clean by my soldiers. Use my authority and all my force.
Bell, book, and candle shall not hold me back when gold and silver call my name so loud. I leave your highness. Grandma, I will pray, if ever I remember to be holy, for your fair safety. So I kiss your hand.
Farewell, gentle cousin.
Good cuz, farewell.
Come here, my little grandson. Come to me.
She takes Arthur aside.
Come here, Hubert. Oh, my gentle Hubert. I owe you much. Within this wall of flesh, there is a soul counts you her creditor and will repay your love with interest. My friend, your freely given loyalty lives in this bosom, dearly cherished. Give me your hand. I had a thing to say, but I will fit it to a better time. By heaven, Hubert, I'm almost ashamed to say how much respect I have for you.
I am indebted to your majesty.
Good friend. You have no cause to say so yet, but you may have. Right now, the time seems wrong. Yet time will come when you'll get your reward. I had a thing to say, but let that go. The sun is shining and the day is bright, too full of colors and gaudy displays for you to pay me mind. When midnight comes, if we were standing in a graveyard then, and you were tortured by 1,000 wrongs, if you could see me, really see me, hear me, really hear me, and you could reply with just your eyes, using your mind alone, without the harmful sounds of words gone wrong, I could begin to tell you everything. But I cannot. I love you, you know that. And I suspect you also love me back.
So much so that what you would have me do, though that my death followed upon the act, by heaven, I would do it.
I know you would. Good Hubert, Hubert, turn your eye to that young boy. I'll tell you what, my friend, he is a serpent, always in my way. And wherever I may decide to walk, he slinks beneath me. Do you understand? You are his keeper.
And I'll keep him so that he shall not offend your majesty.
Death?
My lord?
The grave.
He shall not live.
Enough. I could be merry, Hubert. I love you, but I won't say what I intend for you. Remember, madam, fare you well. I'll leave those forces to protect your grace.
My blessing goes with you.
To England, child. Hubert shall be your man and care for you with all true duty. On toward Calais, go.
Act 3, Scene 4, the French King's Tent, France. Enter King Phillip of France, Louis the Dauphin, Pandolph, and attendants.
So, by a roaring tempest out at sea, our whole armada of committed ships is scattered and completely lost to us.
Courage and comfort, all shall yet go well.
What can go well when we have run so ill? Are we not beaten? Is not Angiers lost? Arthur's a prisoner, several allies dead, and bloody John is back to England gone, in spite of our resistance on each front.
But John has won, he's also fortified. Such swiftness with such prudent judgment met, such detached calm in such a fierce contest is unprecedented. Who's read or heard of anything that's similar to this?
I could stand England's fortune and your praise if I could find a shame that equals ours.
At this exact moment, Constance enters, speak of the devil. Her hair is a mess, like she's blown a fuse.
Look who comes here, a grave unto a soul. I beg you, lady, come away with me.
See now the gruesome product of your peace.
Patience, good lady, calm down, Constance, please.
No! I defy all counsel, all redress, but that which ends all counsel, true redress, death. Death, oh amiable, lovely death. The putrid stench, the rancid rot of flesh, rise from your coffin's everlasting grave. You are the enemy of happiness, and I will kiss your detestable bones and place my eyeballs in your dull sockets and wring my fingers with your corpse's worms and stop the mouth of mine with filthy dirt and be a carrion monster like yourself. Come, grin at me. I'll take it that you flirt. Then French kiss me real slow. Misery, oh, come to me.
Oh, fair affliction, peace.
No, I have none. Having breath to cry, I wish my tongue were in the thunder's mouth. Then with my passion, I should shake the world and rouse from sleep that dull anatomy which cannot hear a lady's feeble voice and disregards her ordinary cries.
Lady, you utter madness and not grief.
You are far too holy to understand me. I am not mad. This hair I tear is mine. My name is Constance. I was Geoffrey's wife. Young Arthur is my son, and he is lost. I am not mad. I wish to God I were, for then I could simply forget myself. Oh, if I could, what grief would I forget? Preach some theology to make me mad, and you'd be named a saint, dear Cardinal, for being capable of such wild grief. My reason finds it reasonably reasonable that I might be relieved of this sadness, and urges me to kill, to hang myself. If I were mad, I just forget my son, or madly think he was a doll or a toy. I am not mad. Too well I feel the different curse of each calamity. To England, if you will.
Bind up your hairs.
Yes, I could do that. But what good is it? I tore them from their bonds and cried aloud, oh, that these hands could so redeem my son as they have given these hairs their liberty. But now I envy them their liberty and will again commit them to their bonds because my little boy's a prisoner.
Your overstated grief becomes a sin.
He talks who never had a son.
You are as fond of grief as of your child.
Grief fills the room up with my absent son, lies in his bed, walks up and down with me, puts on his pretty looks, repeats his words, remembers me, all his gracious parts, and plumps his empty garments with his form. Is that reason enough to love my grief? You tell me, if you had a similar loss, I could give better comfort than you do. I will not keep this form upon my head when all my wits are so disordered. Oh! crown, my life, my joy, my food, my all the world, my widow comfort, my sorrows cruel.
I fear she'll harm herself. I'll follow her.
There's nothing in the world that gives me joy. Bitter shame has spoiled the sweet world's taste. It yields nothing but shame and bitterness.
What have you lost by losing of this day?
All days of glory, joy, and happiness.
If you had won it, certainly you had. Listen, when fortune's really on your side, she looks at you with her most threatening eyes. It's strange to think how much King John has lost in this which he imagines he has won. Are you upset that Arthur's his prisoner?
As heartily as he is glad he has him.
Your naive mind's as youthful as your blood. Now hear me speak with a prophetic spirit. John has seized Arthur, and it cannot be that while warm blood's flowing through Arthur's veins, usurping John will have 1 minute's peace. A scepter snatched with an unruly hand must be as violently maintained as gained, and he that stands on such a slippery slope will go to any lengths to stay upright. For John to stand, then Arthur needs to fall. So be it, or it cannot be but so.
But what would I gain by young Arthur's fall?
You, on behalf of Lady Blanch, your wife, may now make all the claims that Arthur did.
And lose them, life and all, as Arthur did.
Oh, you are naive and green in this old world. John's plots against you work on your behalf, for he who spills true blood for his own safety shall find but bloody safety and untrue. John's acts so evilly done shall cool the hearts of all his people, freezing up their zeal, and given any chance that they can get to end his reign, they'll surely cherish it.
Maybe he will not touch young Arthur's life, but hold him safely in his prison cell.
Oh, sir, when he will hear of your approach, if that young Arthur's not already dead, even at that news, he dies. And then the hearts of all John's people shall revolt from him and kiss the lips of their much longed for change and pick strong matter of revolt and wrath out of the bloody fingerprints of John. In England now, offending decency, the bastard Falconbridge ransacks the church. If but a dozen French were there in arms, they could incite the English to their side, just as a little snow tumbled about someday becomes a mountain. Noble Dauphin, go with me to your father. Celebrate what may be made from England's discontent now that their souls are doomed by John's offense. For England go. I will whip up your king.
Strong reasons make strange actions. Let us go. If you say yes, our king will not say no.
Act 4, Scene 1. A room in a castle. Enter Hubert and executioners with irons, rope, and other torture devices.
Heat up these irons hot, and then go hide behind the tapestry. I'll signal you by tapping my foot twice. Then you rush out and tie that boy you find me with tight to the chair. Be careful. Hurry, go!
I hope your orders justify your deeds.
My orders are quite clear. Now do my will.
Enter Arthur.
Young boy, come here. I need a word with you.
Good morning, Hubert.
Morning, little prince.
I'm a little prince with a big title. I'll be a big prince someday. Are you sad?
Indeed, I have had better days.
Hubert, I think nobody should be sad but me. But I remember when I was in France, French teenagers would act like they were sad to get attention and sympathy. Sheesh. If I were out of prison and kept sheep, I'd be as happy as the day is long. I'd even be happy here, except I think my uncle has a plan to cause me harm. He's afraid of me, and I of him. Isn't my fault that I was Geoffrey's son? It wasn't, and instead, I wish to God I were your son, so you would love me, Hubert.
If I listen to his sweet innocence, he will awake my mercy which lies dead. Therefore I will be sudden and act fast.
Are you sick, Hubert? You look pale today. In truth, I wish you were a little sick. Then I'd stay up all night and watch over you. I bet I love you more than you love me.
His words take such possession of my heart.
He shows Arthur a paper.
Read this, young Arthur. Here come foolish tears, driving all thoughts of torture from my mind. I must be brief, or else I will lose my nerve and cry my eyes out like some little girl. Can't you read it? Is't fairly writ?
Too fairly, Hubert, for so foul effect. Must you with hot irons burn out both my eyes?
Young boy, I must.
And will you?
Yes, I will.
You have the heart. When you had a headache, I wrapped my handkerchief about your bra, and my very best, a princess made for me. I never even asked it back from you. And all night I cradled your poor head and liked the watchful minutes to the hour. And with my good cheer, I helped the time to pass, asking, what do you need? Where do you hurt? Or what on God's earth can I do for you? Many a poor man's son would not have cared and never have spoken one kind word to you, but you, at your bedside, you had a prince. You might think my love was calculated and crafty. You may think that if you will. If heaven be pleased that you must use me ill, why then you must. Will you burn out my eyes? These eyes that never did or never will so much as frown at you?
I've sworn to do it. And with hot irons, I must burn them out.
The iron poker may be red hot, but as it approaches, it'll drink my tears and quench its fiery indignation. Even in the matter of my innocence, and after that, will oxidize in rust because it carried fire into my eyes. Are you more stubborn hard than hammered iron? Because if an angel should have come to me and told me Hubert should put out my eyes, I would not have believed it. There's no tongue, but Hubert's...
It's time! Do as I tell you.
Enter the executioners with a length of rope and a poker.
Do as I tell you.
Save me, Hubert, save me. My eyes are out even with the scary looks of these hard men.
Hand me the poker. Now, and tie him up.
All right, but you need to be so rough. I will not struggle. Look, I stand stone still. For heaven's sakes, Hubert, please make this stop. No, hear me, Hubert. Send these men away, and I will sit as quiet as a lamb. I will not move or wince or speak one word. Send these fierce men away, and I'll forgive whatever suffering you would do to me.
Go stand within. Leave me alone with him.
I am relieved to be away from here.
It looks like I have sent away a friend. He had a sharp look. He had a harsh look, but a gentle heart. Let him come back, that his compassion may give life to yours.
Come, boy, prepare yourself.
There's no other way.
You'll lose your eyes.
If only there were a speck in your eye, a grain. a dust, a gnat, a wandering hare. Then feeling how small things can cause such pain, your vile intent would seem too horrible.
Is this your promise? Stop it. Hold your tongue.
Two tongues together could not even describe how much is needed this one pair of eyes. Oh, Hubert, if you will, cut out my tongue so I may keep my eyes. Please spare my eyes, although they have no use but seeing you.
Arthur seizes the iron.
But feel this now. The poker is ice cold and could not burn me.
I can heat it, boy.
No, you cannot. The fire has died from grief, being created for comfort to be used in violent extremes. Look for yourself. There is no malice in this burning coal. The breath of heaven has blown the fire out and scattered repentant ashes on its head.
But with my breath, I can revive it, boy.
And if you do, you will but make it blush and glow through shame of your proceedings, Hubert. Or worse, it might send sparks into your eyes. All things that you should use to do me wrong, deny their office. Only you do lack that mercy, which fierce fire and iron extend, creatures of note for mercy lacking uses.
Well, see to live. I will not touch your eyes for all the treasure that your uncle owns. Yet I was sworn and charged to do so, boy, and with this very iron to burn them out.
Oh, now look like Hubert. All this while you were disguised.
Peace. No more, be still. Your uncle must believe that you are dead. I'll fill these evil spies with false reports. And, pretty child, sleep free of doubt and sure that Hubert, for the wealth of all the world, will never do you harm.
Thank you, Hubert.
Silence. No more. Go secretly with me. Much danger do I undergo for thee.
Act 4, Scene 2, King John's Palace. Enter King John, Pembroke, Salisbury, and other lords.
Here, once again we sit, once again crowned, and looked upon, I hope, with cheerful eyes.
This once again, but that your highness pleased was once superfluous, since crown before and your royal title was not removed.
Therefore to be possessed with double pomp, to gild refined gold, to paint the lily, to throw more perfume on the violet is wasteful and ridiculous excess.
Because your royal whims must be indulged, we have to suffer through this episode. A coronation we've already seen, and we don't have the time to watch repeats.
In this most ancient and most well-known place, this ceremonial act now looks deformed. It frightens everyone and makes them worry.
My reasons for this double coronation, I've already told you, they were good. And more I will reveal when I'm less scared, then you will understand. Meantime, just say what you would have me charge that is not well, and well shall you perceive how willingly I will both hear and grant you your requests.
Then I, as one that am the tongue of these, do sound the purposes of all our hearts. We recommend the swift release of Arthur. If what you rule in peace by right you hold, why should your fears, which as they say, attend a guilty conscience, move you to lock up your tender kinsman and to choke his days with barbarous ignorance, denying him the rich advantages of good exercise, that the crown's enemies may not have cause to spark rebellion? Let it be our suit, as you have bid us ask, his liberty. It is not for our good that we do ask, except our good is suited to your own. It is the best for all to set him free.
I hear you well. I will release the youth to your custody.
Enter Hubert.
Hubert, what's the news?
This is the man should do the bloody deed. He showed his warrant to a friend of mine. The imprint of a wicked, heinous act still twists his face. If you look close enough, you'll see the traces of a guilty conscience. And I do fear that we are now too late. He has already killed him, it would seem.
Color in the king's face comes and goes. His guilt is like a boil that's about to burst.
And when it bursts, I fear the pus will be the foul corruption of that sweet child's death.
We cannot hold mortality's strong hand. Good lords, although my will to give is living, the suit that you demand is gone and dead. He tells me Arthur is deceased tonight.
Indeed, we feared his sickness was past cure.
Indeed, we heard how near to death he was before the child himself felt he was sick. This must be answered here or in heaven.
Why are you both looking at me like that? You think I hold the scissors of the fates? Do I have power over the pulse of life?
There seems to be foul play, and it's a shame that greatness should so grossly order death. So thrive it in your game. So farewell.
Wait up, Lord Salisbury. I'll go with you and find the resting place of this poor child. His blood, which owned the breadth of this great isle, now only owns 3 feet. Bad word the while. This cannot be contained. It will break out to all our sorrow, and quite soon, no doubt.
They burn in indignation. I repent. There is no sure foundation set on blood, no certain life achieved by others' deaths.
Enter messenger.
You look terrified. Where is that color that I have seen inhabit in those cheeks? So foul a sky clears not without a storm. Pour down your weather. How goes all in France?
France to England. Never was such power of any foreign army on our land imposed so fully and so readily.
What? Are our spies all drinking on the job? Or are they sleeping? Where's my mother been? That such an army could have formed in France without her having heard.
My lord, her air is stopped with dust. On April 1st, your noble mother died. And I also hear, my lord, the Lady Constance died by suicide.
Slow down your speed. Dreadful occasion. Oh, spare me more bad news till I have pleased my discontented peers. What? Mother's dead? How widely ruined are my affairs in France? Under whose command are those French troops you say you've seen? You say are landed here?
Under the Dauphin.
You make me dizzy with all this bad news.
The bastard enters with Peter of Pomfret, a prophet.
Now, what says the world of your proceedings? Do not seek to stuff my head with more bad news, for it is full.
But if you are afraid to hear the worst, then let the worst unheard fall on your head.
Bear with me, cousin. I was overwhelmed, under the tide. But I've come up for air above the flood and can give audience to any tongue, no matter what it says.
How I have sped among the clergymen, you'll see by how much money I have raised. But also, as I traveled through the land, I found your people full of strange reports, possessed with rumors, full of idle dreams, not knowing what they fear, but full of fear. And here's a prophet that I brought with me from the village of Pomfret, whom I found with many hundreds treading on his heels, to whom he sung in rude, harsh-sounding rhymes that before the next Ascension Day at noon, your highness should relinquish up your crown.
You idle dreamer, why did you say so?
I can foresee the truth shall fall out, so.
Hubert, away with him and lock him up. And on Ascension Day at noon, just when he says I'll yield my crown, string him up high. Right now, take him to jail. And then come back, for I still need your help. Gentle cousin, have you already heard who has arrived?
The French, my lord. Men's mouths are full of it. And I ran into Pembroke and Salisbury, and they're outraged. Their eyes are burning coals. They have a posse going to find the grave of Arthur, whom they say was killed tonight on your suggestion.
Gentle cousin, go and thrust yourself into their company. I need to find a way to win them back. Bring them to me.
I will go seek them out.
And let me have no homegrown enemies while foreign terrorists invade my towns. Be Mercury, put feathers on your boots and fly like thought from them to me again.
The spirit of the time will teach me speed.
Spoke true, like a quick-witted gentleman. Go after him because he may need some backup, some muscle, a bodyguard. That's your new job.
With all my heart, my liege.
My mother dead.
Enter Hubert.
My lord, they say 5 moons were seen tonight. 4 stayed in place, the 5th one spun around, the other 4 in wonderful motion.
Fake news!
Old men and old crones in the streets are speculating on it dangerously. They're saying Arthur's dead, they're gossiping, and when they talk of him, they shake their heads and whisper rumors in each other's ears. I saw a blacksmith standing, listening as his iron on his anvil lost its heat. With open mouth, he swallowed up the tailor's news. The tailor, with scissors and his tape, stood in his slippers, which he had thrown on because he couldn't pause to lace his boots. He warned of the battalions of the French gathering in warlike order down in Kent. And as they spoke, another citizen cut short that tale and talked of Arthur's death.
Why do you want to burden me with fears? Why do you speak so much of Arthur's death? You murdered him. It's true, I had my reasons to wish him dead, but you had none to kill him.
Why order me to do what you don't want?
It is the curse of kings to be surrounded by sycophants who call a whim a warrant, and on the pretense of authority to understand a law, to know its meaning of awesome royalty, and its mere frowns to misinterpret our moods as orders.
Here is your hand and seal for what I did.
Oh. When the final tale of heaven and earth is written, then this letter signed and sealed condemns us to eternal damnation. The sight of someone evil is often so suggestive. Had you not been nearby, staring at me with your contorted face, this murder wouldn't have come into my mind. But taking note of your disfigurement, sensing your willingness to kill the child, I hinted slightly at young Arthur's death, and you, being a total brown-noser, took it upon yourself to kill a prince.
What the hell?
If only you had shook your head or paused when I spoke darkly, what I'd merely mused. If you had turned a doubtful eye to me, told me to speak exactly what I meant, deep shame would have silenced me, made me stop, and your doubts would have spawned such doubts in me. Instead, you dared presume to read my mind, supplanting my thoughts with thoughts of your own. Consequently, your harsh hand committed the action which neither of us could speak. Get out of my sight and never look at me. My nobles have left, and my realm faces ruin, and in my own body, this human flesh, this kingdom, this prison of blood and breath, hostility and civil tumult reigns between my conscience and that child's death.
I'll make peace between your soul and you. Young Arthur is alive. This hand of mine is still a virgin, keeps its innocence, isn't tainted with crimson drops of blood. Within my heart, there has never entered a dreadful motion of a murderous thought, and you have slandered my humanity. I would never butcher an innocent child.
Arthur's alive. Hightail it to the peers! Throw this water upon their fiery rage, and make them tame and pledge obedience. And also, Please forgive what I have said about the way you look. I was pissed off, and I saw you through very angry eyes. No need to answer, but bring back to me the angry lords with all expedient haste. I conjure you, but slowly. Now run fast!
4, Scene 3, before the castle. Enter Arthur on the walls, disguised as a ship boy.
The wall is high, but I'll attempt escape. Good ground, be merciful and don't hurt me. There's no one here who knows me. If there were, this sailor suit has quite disguised me. I'm afraid, and yet I'll venture it. If I survive and do not break my neck, I'll find 1,000 tricks to get away. As good to die and go as die and stay.
He leaps down.
Oh, merde! My uncle's spirit is in these stones. Heaven take my soul, and England keep my bones.
He dies. Enter Pembroke, Salisbury, and Bigot with a letter.
I'll meet the Dauphin at St. Edmundsbury. It's in our interest, and we must embrace his generous offer at this perilous time.
Who brought this letter from the Cardinal?
The Count Mellon, a noble lord of France whose secret intel about the Dauphin is more persuasive than the Cardinal's words.
Tomorrow morning, let us meet Mellon.
Enter the bastard.
Once more today, well met, unhappy lords. The king requests your presence with him now.
The king has disappointed us all. We will not reinforce John's tattered cloak with fabric of our strength, nor serve the man that leaves a bloody footprint where he walks. Return and tell him so. We know the worst.
Whatever you think you know, kind words are best.
Our griefs and not our manners reason now.
But there is little reason for your grief. Therefore, there is reason to show your manners now.
Sir, our righteous anger takes precedence.
If true, to hurt yourself, but no one else.
This is his prison.
He sees Arthur.
What's that lying there?
Oh, death made proud with pure princely beauty. The earth has not a hole to hide this crime.
Murder is hating what himself has done. Here lays it open to urge on revenge.
When he doomed this beauty to a grave, found it too precious princely for a grave.
Richard, what do you think? Have you seen this? Or have you read or heard, or could you think that you do see this? This is the very top, the height, the crest, or crest unto the crest of murder's arms. This is the bloodiest shame, the wildest savagery, the vilest stroke that ever wide-eyed wrath or staring rage presented to the tears of soft remorse.
This makes all murderers past seem justified, and this, so singular and terrible, shall give a holiness, a purity to the most unimaginable crimes.
It is a damned and a bloody work, the graceless action of a heavy hand, if that it be the work of any hand.
If that it be the work of any hand, it is the shameful work of Hubert's hand, the practice and the purpose of the king, from whose obedience I free my soul, kneeling before this ruin of sweet life and breathing to its breathless excellence the incense of a vow, a holy vow, no more to take the pleasures of this world till I have made a glory of this hand by giving it the worship of revenge.
Our souls will together religiously confirm your words.
Enter Hubert.
Lords, I am hot with haste in seeking you. Prince Arthur lives. The king now sends for you.
Oh, he is bold and blushes not at death. Beat it, you hateful villain, out of here!
I am no villain.
Salisbury draws his sword.
Must I be the law?
Your sword is bright, sir. Put it up again.
Not till I sheathe it in that murderer's skin.
Stand back, Lord Salisbury. Stand back, I say. By heaven, I think my sword's as sharp as yours. I would not have you, Lord, forget yourself or tempt the danger of my true defense. In case, responding to your rage, I forget your worth, your greatness and nobility.
You piece of shit. Threaten a nobleman?
You are a murderer.
Don't make me one. I am none yet. Whose tongue says so speaks false.
Cut him to pieces.
Keep the peace, I say.
Move, or I will kill you, Falconbridge.
If you but frown at me or twitch your foot, I'll strike you dead. Put up your sword instead.
What will you do, renowned Falconbridge? Defend a villain and a murderer?
Lord Bigot, I am none.
Who killed this prince?
It's not an hour since I left him alive. I honored him, I loved him, and will weep my length of life out for his sweet life's loss.
Don't trust those cunning teardrops in his eyes, for villainy can always cry on cue. He's so well trained, he leads us to believe his river of tears will prove his innocence. Away with me, all you whose souls despise the unclean odor of a slaughterhouse, for I am sickened with the smell of it.
Let's meet the Dauphin at St. Edmundsbury.
Let King John know that we've now joined with the French.
Here's a good world. Knew you of Arthur's death? Beyond the infinite and boundless reach of mercy, if indeed you murdered him, you are damned, Hubert.
Do but hear me, sir.
I'll tell you what, you are completely damned. No one's more damned than you shall be if you murdered this child.
I swear on my soul.
If you even consented to this most cruel act, you should despair. And if you need a rope, the smallest thread that spider ever twisted from her womb will serve to strangle you. A twig will be a beam to hang yourself. Or if you'd rather drown, put one small drop of water in a spoon, and it shall be as all the ocean, enough to stifle such a villain up.
If I in act, consent, or sin of thought am guilty of stealing that sweet boy's breath, let hell invent new pains to torture me. He was alive.
Then take him in your arms. I am astonished, and I lose my way among the thorns and dangers of this world.
Hubert lifts Arthur's body.
How easy can one take all England up? From forth this morsel of dead royalty, the life, the right, the truth of all this realm has fled to heaven. And England now remains to tug and scramble and part by the teeth the varied interests of proud swelling state. Now, for the bare-picked bone of majesty, the dogs of war bristle and lick their chops and snarl into the gentle eyes of peace. How happy is he whose cloak is waterproof and can withstand this deluge? Take him away and follow me with speed. I'll find King John 1,000 businesses are brief in hand, and heaven itself does frown upon this land.
They exit, Hubert carrying Arthur's little body. We will now pause for a discussion and a 10-minute break.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I am astonished and I lose my way. How could people not love this play?
Yeah.
I know.
It is so
Right.
freaking relevant without having to be
Yeah.
like I mean, like, you don't have to just do the story.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal.
It's also so well structured.
Yeah,
as a-
totally.
It's
Totally.
just incredible how the pace at which it moves and how
Yep.
the story starts to kind of fold in on itself. It's
Right, and use
beautiful.
of suspense and pulling away from, and then repeating, and then pulling it. Yeah, it's contrast. It's everything. The tension of the language all being in 10 beats. There's tension constantly, and it has to be relieved every once in a while. Wow, yeah, it's really beautiful work, Bridget, and all of you, just awesome. I mean, some of those scenes.
Yeah.
we're
The way it
Yeah.
telescopes wide and intimate and
Yeah.
into
Yeah, contrasting in and out. Yeah, yeah.
it goes in. It's filmic, right? It's
Yep.
cinematic that it
Yep.
goes close up and then wide. You know.
And I think it has so much to do with scale. And when the bastard talks about scale, and he's like, I am going to hang you with like this little tiny piece of something, because it's all about scale going in and going out.
Right.
And it's that moment where I am astonished and I lose my way. It's like you feel like the veil fall from his eyes, the bastard's eyes, and he sees. Like
Yeah, he'd been following that script. He'd been following that script for a while. Like that's where he was. That's where his bread was buttered, right? Unbelievable moment. Unbelievable moment.
Well, and I think that for him too, right? Like there's this idea that we have about like the soldier, right? Like the manpower and this need for blood and this ability, right, to like go out and kill somebody. Like if I want you to go kill someone, just go out and kill him. Don't think about it. Just kill him. And then all of a sudden we start having these very different twists and turns within like the politics of the soldier. Like when does the soldier stop just following the rules and starts questioning the rules?
And I was thinking about that also on when he talks about the sycophants.
Yeah.
If the curse of kings be surrounded by sycophants who call a whim a warrant, and on the pretense of authority to understand a law, to know the meaning of awesome royalty and its mere frowns, to misinterpret our moods as orders. Like, that's exactly what I'm thinking, what you just said, Caro, that it's like, just follow, just do it. And then only later will you be like, oh.
It's being sarcastic.
Why did I do that? Yeah, he's being sarcastic. But
well, and it's that whole, right, it was like that whole Gandhi thing that like if you stood by and did nothing, you were just equally as guilty as everyone around you.
Yeah.
Right. But to like stand or like to sit and create this kind of sense of peace is a very different way of thinking if what you've known is kind of like the who has the right to be in struggle or who has the right to call themselves king. We don't think about it in that way today. We think about like, do you follow the rules or do you not follow the rules?
I think there's a kind of cynicism that has to exist in order for the bastard to act as he does up until that moment.
That's good.
And then justice doesn't require armies. Justice requires the amount of water that can be held in a spoon. It's that realization of true sense of justice. It kind of moves it outside of this political realm and into a kind of a, in these plays, a religious realm, but a metaphysical realm.
Like such
conscience. I think it's conscience that gets born in him in that moment. True conscience, as opposed to wiliness. As opposed to quick of wit. And then that is incredibly empowering. I mean, it's a kind of power that it's going to take a while for him to figure out how to harness and how to move forward, but he's struggling to kind of define that power. And so I love all that imagery about, the finest web of a spider could kill you.
Well, it's like
right.
the first time you learn that something has consequences.
Right.
Well, and it's hard to stay cynical when it's about the death of a child. I mean, that's what really changes it for him in terms of this. He changes as a character at that point when he sees that Arthur's dead.
The death of the innocent, right? And it's the physical manifestation of it. It's not intellectual. It's not the idea of it. It's not as many people that you hear that died on a battlefield. It's the dead body of a young boy, a young innocent boy, right?
And that's amazing because you hear the difference, right? When like King John had that thing and he's like, he's alive. He's like, great. You go tell those guys and convince them that I didn't do anything bad now. And that's just a beautiful kind of contrast that we get from these two in this sequence, particularly, I think is really fascinating.
I also love the visual image of Arthur in his little sailor suit.
Right?
No, right?
Oh my God.
You know, there's a great line of his. There was one line, his last. What was that line?
Yeah.
Basically, it's the same thing to stay and die as it is to go and die. I mean, there's a kind of awareness in that moment that is so very sad. That he sees there is no option. Really, the consequence can be the same, but he might as well take it into his own hands. I think it's really beautiful.
There's so much sadness in this play.
It's good to die and go as die and stay. Yeah, it's a great line.
Yeah.
For a kid to say that is really painful, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's a heartbreaking play, right? There's that scene, there's Constance and her grief, and her insistence that her grief not be ignored, and her, like, when the politicians are talking in this realm, she's lying on the floor. She comes in and makes people deal with her grief, and that it will not be put away, you know. And then they say,
fix your hair. Yeah, all Phillip has to say is fix your hair.
A male response. What are you doing? You can't look at that. You're you know, and
But well, and that the contrast between that. I mean, I'm just thinking about that. You know, as you were saying, like the one-line soliloquy then of "My mother dead," like the contrast between Constance's expression of grief, which is just so huge, but I mean, Elinor is such a power and such a force in the play, and then that she's taken away, and we get to see John in that one moment of "My mother dead."
Yeah, what's left?
what's
left of him,
and how he falls apart after that.
Yeah.
One thing I just realized is that when Constance gets weighed down with grief, she hits the floor, she hits the ground, and then Arthur also hits the ground.
Right.
Like they both, and they're both like absorbed into the earth in some way.
And Arthur calls the rocks his
uncle, yeah.
His uncle stones, yeah.
Yeah.
Does John doesn't have soliloquies other than that, right? It's just fast, like it just hit me. I'm sure I looked at this 15 years ago, but it just hit me really right now that the one moment that he has alone with the audience,
he has 3 words.
He says, "My mother," and it's about his mother. He has 3 words, and it's about his mother.
Yeah.
And then after that, he spirals.
Yeah.
He was already spiraling, and that just took the wind.
Yeah. John was having a bad day, definitely.
A long bad day.
Long bad day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, let's take our last 10. So we can, we'd love to break this before, 7 East Coast time, just so that we can all applaud front.
Yell out the window.
Yell out the window, right? So let's take our last 10, and then we just have Act 5, which is about, 10, 20 pages, something like that. Cool. See you in 10, everybody.
All right. Thank you.
Great. See you soon.
Hey, everybody, welcome back.
No.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going in with goldfish.
Yeah.
I got jeans on now. I gave up the pants. We're going in with goldfish.
Act 5.
Because all I can feel is this thing is going downhill fast. Who the hell is going to be left to pick up the pieces? I just, right? Fascinating. Anyway, while we're waiting for everyone to kind of get back, just want to thank everybody for being a part of this, especially our listeners today. We had 106 at one point. I think we're down to, we're down to about 67 band of brothers.
Yes.
Brilliant. We got a couple things going. We're going to do another one of these on Monday, special edition. Hero Theater in Los Angeles is doing one.
Oh, good.
We're going to do Allison Carey's 12th night, same bat time, same bat channel.
Nice.
So if you get, free on Monday. And next week we're going to be reading Midsummer. So that was translated by Jeff Whitty. So I hope that you all will join us for that. Everybody kind of back and ready to go?
Looks like we're all here.
Brilliant. Caroline.
All righty.
Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it ends. Thanks.
Act 5, Scene 1, King John's Palace. Enter King John and Pandolf with the crown and their attendants.
Thus have I yielded up into your hand the circle of my glory.
Take again. My hand represents the Pope and bestows your sovereign greatness and authority.
Now, keep your holy word. Go meet the French, and on the Pope's behalf, use all your power to stop their marches before we're destroyed. Our discontented counties do rebel. Our people quarrel with my right to rule, swearing allegiance and their loyalty to stranger blood and to foreign royalty. It's up to you to calm and to subdue this inundation of unrest and bile.
It was my breath that blew this tempest up after your stubborn treatment of the Pope. But since you have converted back to Rome, my tongue shall hush again this storm of war and make fair weather in your war-torn land. On this Ascension Day, remember well upon your oath of service to the Pope. Now, I will make the French lay down their arms.
This is Ascension Day? Didn't the prophet promise that by Ascension Day at noon, I should give up my crown? Even so I have. I did suppose it should be on constraint, but heaven be thanked, it is by my free will.
Enter Bastard.
All Kent surrendered. No one there holds out, but Dover Castle, London, has received like a kind host the Dauphin and his powers. Your nobles will not listen and are gone to offer service to your enemy. And wild amazement hurries up and down the dwindling numbers of your anxious friends.
Would not my lords return to me again after they learned young Arthur was alive?
They found him dead and thrown into the streets.
That villain Hubert told me that he lived.
So on my soul, for all he knew, he did. But why are you so suddenly so depressed? Be great in act, as you have been in thought. Don't let the world see fear and sad distrust. Govern the motion of your kingly eye. What? Will they seek the lion in his den and scare him there and make him tremble there? Hell no. Let's find our enemy and plan to meet displeasure farther from our doors. We'll rumble him before he gets closer.
The Pope's ambassador was just with me, and he and I made such a happy deal, so much so that he promised to destroy the Dauphin's powers.
Oh, what a shameful deal. Should we, upon the footing of our land, send memorandums and make compromise instead of beating back the beardless boy, that pampered, pompadour French Philistine? Shall he find no resistance? Lord, let's fight.
You have my blessing. I put you in charge.
Away then, with good courage. Yet I know our troops may soon confront a prouder foe.
Act 5, Scene 2, the Dauphin's camp at St. Edmundsbury. Enter, in arms, Louis the Dauphin, Salisbury, Mellon, Pembroke, Bigot, and soldiers.
My Lord Mellon, let this be copied out and keep it safe for our remembrance. Return the first draft to these English lords. Let them know we wrote everything down so they and we, by having both these drafts, may know just why we took this sacrament.
Upon our side it never shall be broken. And noble Dauphin, even though we swear a voluntary zeal and strong belief in your proceedings, yet believe me, Prince, I am not pleased that such a cursed time should seek to heal the canker of one wound by making many. Oh, it grieves my soul that I must draw this weapon from my side to be a widow maker. Oh, and here, it is a pity, oh, my grieving friends, that we, the sons and daughters of this land, were born to see so sad an hour as this.
A noble temper you do show in this. Let me wipe off these honorable tears that fall like silver raindrops on your cheeks. Lift up your brow, renowned Salisbury. Come, come, for you will plunge your hand as deep into the purse of rich prosperity as I myself do. So will everyone who knits his sinews to the strength of mine.
Trumpet sounds.
And even now I think I hear an angel.
Enter Pandulph.
Here comes the Cardinal, Rome's ambassador to bring us divine news from the Pope, and on our actions set the name of right with holy breath.
Hail, noble Prince of France. The news is this. King John hath reconciled himself with Rome. His spirit hath come in that once opposed the Roman Catholic Church. Therefore, fold up thy threatening flags and banners, and tame the savage spirit of wild war that, like a lion fostered up at hand, it may lie gently at the foot of peace.
Your Grace will pardon me. I won't back down. I am too high born to be bossed around, to be a secondary at control to any sovereign state throughout the world. Your breath first kindled the dead coal of wars between this chastised kingdom and myself, and now it's grown too large to be blown out with that same weak breath that ignited it. You taught me how to know the face of right. You thrust this enterprise into my heart, and now you come to tell me that John has made his peace with Rome?
Yes.
What's that peace to me? Am I Rome's slave? What money has Rome spent? What men provided, or what weapons sent to supplement this war? Is it not myself who's bearing all this cost? Who else but I and those on my side have a genuine stake in this business and can maintain this war? Don't I hold the best cards in this game of poker that we play for sovereignty? Do I now fold and forfeit up my hand? No. On my soul, it never shall be said.
Oh, you only see the outside of this plan.
Outside or inside, I will not retreat.
A trumpet sounds.
What lusty trumpet now calls out to us?
Enter the bastard.
According to our diplomatic law, let me have audience. I am sent to speak, my holy lord of Milan, from the king. I come to learn how you have bargained here, and from your answer, I'll then know if I respond to you as friend or foe.
The Dauphin is willful and obstinate. He says point blank, he'll not lay down his arms.
By all the blood that ever fury breathed, the youth says well. Now here our English king. He is prepared, and with good reason too. This beardless sauciness of boyish troops, the king just smiles at and is resolved to cudgel France and make it to the lash. And you degenerates, you ingrate rebels of your dear mother England, blush for shame. for our own ladies and innocent girls like Amazons come dancing to our drums.
Stop your blather and turn your face in peace. Our time is too precious to be squandered on such a windbag.
Give me leave to speak.
I am not done.
We will listen to neither. Strike up the drums and let the tongue of war plead for our interest and our presence here.
Indeed, your drums being beaten will cry out, and so will you being beaten. Do but start an echo with the clamor of your drum, and we will answer with a steady beat that will reverberate and drown you out. Sound but another, and another shall, loudly as yours, rattle the firmament and mock the deep-mouthed thunder. For at hand, not trusting to this lamely limping priest, is warlike John, and on his forehead sits a bare-ribbed death, whose purpose is this day to feast upon the whole thousands of the French.
Strike up our drums to find this danger out.
And you will find it, Dauphin. Have no doubt.
Act 5, Scene 3, the field of battle. The field of battle, trumpets are heard. Enter King John and Hubert.
How goes the day with us? Oh, tell me, Hubert.
Badly, I fear. How fares your majesty?
This fever that I've had for several days still burns me up, and my heart is in pain.
Enter a messenger.
My lord, your bastard kinsman, Falconbridge, desires your majesty to leave the field and send him word by me which way you go.
Tell Falconbridge we'll meet him at Swinstead Abbey.
You can relax. For all of the supplies that were expected by the Dauphin here were wrecked 3 nights ago on Goodwin Sands. The French have lost all hope and are fatigued.
Oh, me. This fever burns me up and will not let me welcome such good news. Set on towards Swinstead, to my stretcher straight. Weakness overtakes me and I feel faint.
Act 5, Scene 4, another part of the field. Enter Salisbury, Pembroke, and Bigot.
I did not think the king had such strong friends.
Up once again. Put spirit in the French. If they miscarry, we miscarry too.
That misbegotten devil Falconbridge, in spite of spite, alone upholds the day.
They say King John's near death and leaves the field.
Enter Mellon, wounded, led by a soldier.
Lead me to the rebellious English lords.
When we were happy, we had other names.
Is the Count Mellon?
He's close to death.
Fly, noble English, for you are betrayed. Seek out King John and kneel before his feet, for if the French be lords of this loud day, Louis will recompense the pains you take by cutting off your heads. Thus he has sworn, and he had many witnesses like me.
May this be possible? May this be true?
Have I not hideous death within my view? Retaining but a smidgen's worth of life, what in the world should make me now deceive, since I must lose the use of all deceit? I say again, if Louis wins the day, he has sworn those eyes of yours will not behold another morning dawning in the east. Because my grand-père was an Englishman, awakes my conscience to confess all this. In gratitude, I pray you, carry me far from the noise and tumult of the field.
My arms shall give you help to bring you there, for I do see the cruel pangs of death clear in your eye. Away, my friends, new flight and happy newness that puts old wrongs right.
Act 5, Scene 5, the French camp. Enter Louis, the Dauphin, and 1 soldier.
I thought the sun was never going to set. It stayed and made the whole horizon blush as England stumbled back on their own ground in faint retire. Oh, bravely we marched off, and with a volley of triumphant shot after such bloody toil, we said goodnight and wound our tattered banners into balls. Last in the field and almost lords of it.
Enter a messenger.
Where's my prince, the Dauphin?
Here, what news?
The Count Mellon is dead. The English lords by him persuaded changed their loyalties, and your supply, for which you have such need, is cast away and sunk on Goodwin sands.
Terrible news. Anathema to my heart. I did not think to be so sad tonight as this has made me. Who was it that said King John escaped an hour or two before the stumbling night did part our weary powers?
Whoever spoke it, it is true, my lord.
Well, keep a lookout and take care tonight. The day shall not be up so soon as I to try the fair adventure of tomorrow.
Act 5, Scene 6. An open place in the neighborhood of Swinstead Abbey. Enter the bastard and Hubert in the dark.
Who's there? Speak up. Speak quickly or I'll shoot.
A friend. And what are you?
An Englishman?
Where are you headed?
Why do you give a damn?
Hubert, I think.
And you think perfectly, but who are you?
I dare you take a guess, but you'll befriend me so much as to think that I am descended from Plantagenets.
That's my mistake. Brave soldier, pardon me, for I walk here in the black brow of night to find you out.
Brief then. And what's the news?
The king, I fear, is poisoned by a monk.
How did this happen? Who tasted his food?
The self-same monk, a scheming little shit, whose bowels then exploded, that's our proof. King John is conscious and may yet recover.
Who did you leave to take care of the king?
Haven't you heard? The lords are all come back and brought Prince Henry in their company, at whose request the king has pardoned them, and they surround his royal majesty.
Hubert, we lost half of our troops tonight. These Lincoln washes have been our undoing. Crossing these flats, the rising tide came in. Myself and my stallion barely escaped. Let's go. You first. Conduct me to the king. I hope he won't be dead before I come.
Act 5, Scene 7. The orchard at Swinstead Abbey. Enter Prince Henry, Salisbury, and Bigot.
It is too late. The life of all his blood is thoroughly poisoned, and his pure brain, which some suppose is where the soul resides, does by the garbled comment that he makes predict the ending of his earthly life.
Enter Pembroke.
His Highness is still conscious and believes that if he's brought into the open air, it would perhaps allay the burning pain of the poison which makes his fever climb.
Let him be brought into the orchard here. Is he still ranting?
He's more cogent than when you left him. He's even singing.
It's strange that death should sing. I am the signet to this pale, faint swan, who chants a double hymn to his own death, and from the organ pipe of frailty sings his soul and body to their lasting rest.
Be of good comfort, Prince, for you are born to set a form upon this chaos here.
Ah, good Lord. At last my soul has elbow room. It would not out at windows nor at doors. There is so hot a summer in my bosom that all my bowels crumble up to dust. I am a scribbled form drawn with a pen upon a parchment, and against this fire I shrivel and shrink up.
How do you feel?
I'm poisoned. Ill-used, dead, forsook, cast off, and none of you will bid the winter come to thrust his icy fingers in my mouth, nor let my kingdom's rivers take their course through my burned bosom, nor entreat the north to make his bleak winds kiss my parched lips and comfort me with cold. I don't ask much. I beg cold comfort. And you're so aloof and so ungrateful, you deny me that.
Oh, that there were some virtue in my tears that might relieve you.
Salt in them is hot. Within me is a hell, and there is poison, is as a fiend confined to tyrannize my unreprievable, condemned blood.
Enter the bastard.
I'm hot and sweaty as a racing horse with spleen of speed to see your majesty.
Oh, cousin, you have come to close my eyes. The tackle of my heart is cracked and burnt, and all the shrouds wherewith my life should sail are turned to one thread, one little hair. My heart has one poor string to stay it by, which holds but till your news be uttered, and then all this you see is but a clod and module of confounded royalty.
Faulcon is already on his way. God only knows how we shall answer him. Last night, the best of my battalions, after we'd won and come home from the field,
King John dies.
You breathe your dead news in his deadened ear. My liege, my lord, but now a king, now thus.
Even so must I run on, and even so stop. What guarantee is there, what hope, what stay, when this once a king, and now is clay?
Are you gone so? I do but stay behind to do the office for you of revenge. And then my soul shall wait on you in heaven, as it on earth has been your servant still. Now, you stars that move in your right spheres, where are your powers? Show now your mended fates, and instantly return with me again. Straight let us seek, or straight we shall be sought. The Dauphin rages at our very heels.
It seems you know not then so much as we. The Cardinal Pandulph is within at rest, who half an hour since came from the Dauphin and brings us peaceful offers from the French.
Let it be so. And you, my noble prince, with other princes that may best be spared, shall wait upon your father's funeral.
At Worcester must his body be interred, for he so willed it.
He shall go there then. And happily may your sweet self put on the lineal state and glory of the land, to whom with all submission, on my knee, I do bequeath my faithful services and true subjection everlastingly.
He kneels.
And the like offer of love we make to rest without blemish forevermore.
They kneel to the prince.
I have a kind soul that would give you thanks and knows not how to do it but with tears.
They rise.
Let's pay the time all necessary woe, though we've already seasoned it with grief. This England never did, nor never shall, lie at the proud foot of a conqueror, except when it first helped to wound itself. Now that our princes have returned to us, come the three corners of the world in arms, and we will shook them. Naught shall make us rue, if England to itself do rest but true.
They exit, carrying the body of King John. The end.
Oh, wow, yes. I love Rosa's last comment. Another boy king, what could go wrong? Right? Oh my goodness. What a tale, right? some of us got our wish. We got the bike messenger back.
Catherine. Damn you! Why my seats?
Oh my God, Brenda, I felt so bad for you.
Yeah,
I was like, if I was in that position, there would be no way.
That was just
I
not
was
fair.
just staring
That
at the
just was not
script. I
fair.
couldn't even.
I think that that character would go well in the Kardashian version.
With all love.
It's a fantastic, full, contemporary, like not paraphrase, but she went full out. It's a wonderful.
It really was. It was great.
I want to see it. I want to read it.
Yeah. It's fun. Very fun. So how y'all feeling at the end of this tale of woe?
Weird ending.
You know, I've got to say that the thing that I kept thinking about in that last scene was the very first scene when the bastard is brought before King John and Elinor.
Right.
Where he discovered his loyalties and why, and how even through the whole mess of the story, there was still a vestige of that loyalty at the end, which complicates the whole thing so much.
Totally.
But I would think about, well, you know, he was a bastard son. That is not, you know, unless you're the bastard son of a king, you're not really going to get much out of that. And they bestow him. I mean, they just like recognize him and bestow him with position and with family. And I just think it just complicates. It's like you get to the end and go, God.
Well, he stays loyal.
He stays loyal.
To
Yeah.
John, and he's the one
Yeah.
that great speech, you know, like come out of the lion's den, and I'm paraphrasing the shit out of it, but you know, that he rouses John and keeps John going, you know, and is, you know, stays with him at the end. But I love that he says, hey, we got to go fight the Dauphin, and Salisbury's like, hey, you don't know. Like, there's just that frisson there at the end of like, I'm always fascinated by what the next power struggle is going to be.
Right.
And right there in that moment is just the bastard coming in with what he thinks is the news. And the lords there saying, oh, actually, you're not on top of it. We've got the news of what's going on. And so what is the new regime going to be like?
I also love that Shakespeare is just like, he's right out there with the meddling of the church.
Oh, yeah.
Like right out there.
Yeah, he can afford to do that, right, though, because it's Catholics. The Catholic
And
Church.
the Pope, yeah.
That's the Pope. So like that would have
I mean, we dealt with the same thing in Bring Down the House, you know, it's just like they're political players with the Pope as their backup, you know.
Yeah.
And it was one of the things that John was most known for. One of the good things, it's interesting because there's never been a King John II, because he was always considered the worst of the bad kings.
The Trump and Nixon of the kings of England.
Yeah. But he was known for his early stand against Rome in his day.
Right.
I think to me, the fact that this play, I always think like, how would this play have been received during Shakespeare's time? And the fact that there's this king who, has his the potentially rightful heir assassinated or attempted assassination. You think about how Elizabeth and Mary Queen of Scots and how that must have played at the time for his audience, and that it just seems so subversive to put that on the stage.
That's why it seems at times like there's one of the hard things about doing this play now, it seems as thrilling and interesting and compelling as it is on one level, is that it often feels like it's this compressed secret information or all these kind of in jokes and comments that would have been understood completely differently at the time, because where there are these comic subversive elements that are happening in this kind of straightforward telling of a history that would have, like that, as we were talking about, that fact that that fight between the bastard and Austria about the lion's skin, in the midst of that, Pandolf and Phillip and John, it's just so fascinating that high stakes conversation is going on, and yet Shakespeare has the audience would be most connected to, the bastard, he's just running rampant.
And yet the play is like, as we've been talking about, it also just lives on a contemporary level because there are resonances that you don't need to do anything about. They're just there. It's like King John saying, I needed 2 coronations. I had my reasons. They were good.
I know he has a 3rd coronation. We don't see it, but it's like he gets crowned 3 times. That's how unsure he is about his job.
Right, and it's just like, I'm gonna have another inauguration, and the crowds are huge, and
it's so big,
and I must have a military parade.
Right.
Yep. Why do you want a military parade? My reasons are good.
Yeah.
Address the cadets.
Yeah. So the pomp and circumstance, and just, uneasy, and what happens in all of these, whether it's a history or a tragedy, it's as soon as you become king, then you're worried about how you're going to keep the throne.
Yeah. And
then and just that is it Pandolf who says there's no way he's going to let Arthur live. There's absolutely no way he's going to let Arthur live.
And that's the churchman talking.
Yeah.
I also think it's a life cycle, Rosa. The minute you're at the height of something, it's the beginning of the end.
Yeah.
And so Shakespeare constantly dramatizes this, constantly.
Yeah.
That you have that one moment, and then you're building to the next, down to the next thing.
Yeah, like the minute you get up there, there's no staying up there. It's immediately.
And that's true, and especially true about power. But I also think it's biological. But I think it's about power.
Yeah, and especially when you've usurped it, somebody else is going to do the same damn thing.
Yeah, that helps. Yeah, that helps your anxiety a little bit. Yeah. Hey, Taylor, any last words from our live streamers?
Just some general comments about the translation itself. Someone said that they thought they'd watched the Edward that we had done a couple weeks ago, Edward III. Said that the Edward III was astonishing. Was an Octavio fan for decades, but this translation and this reading suggests that these lesser known works really benefit. The vivid language, the characters, the storytelling. And then someone says, just other people saying that the translation is really great, it's very contemporary and flowing, and a lot of people just saying thanks to all of you for doing this.
And I will extend that to say thank you all. What an extraordinary afternoon with an extraordinary group of artists. I'm sorry for the reason that we're all like playing the Hollywood squares right now. But I am really grateful to you all for giving so much of your time and heart today. I just don't know how much more relevant a play could be, quite frankly. And I'd like to just say that our birth theater, and that would be the Oregon Shakespeare Festival, who birthed our program and with whom we have great love and affinity, has launched a new digital platform called although it's got some kind of I don't know what the word is. And today they also launched a new series called Why Shakespeare. I think today answered Why Shakespeare. But you may want to, jump on and hear that conversation, which I think will come periodically. You all are beautiful. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks, Louie.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Look forward to seeing you all soon. Thank you.
Good to see your faces.
Bye.
Top of Act 2.
Part 2, right? Part 2.
Yeah. But what part?
You're awesome.
You're awesome.
I missed
Bye-bye.
you all.
I know.
Bye.
I know.
Bye.